Beautiful day here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Looking at about 75 degrees, just a few clouds in the sky. A fun afternoon for these race fans. There's one team in Michigan today that has more people here than any other. It represents 675,000 people. Most of them have never been to a race. They're still the strongest team at the track. They are the U.S. Army, celebrating their 234th birthday today, June 14th. So to all the men and women of the U.S. Army and their families around the track and around the world, happy birthday from the race fans everywhere. And thank you. Let's go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting our nation's colors, paratroopers from Company F, 425th Airborne Long Range Surveillance from the Michigan Army National Guard. And here to deliver our invocation from Lumen Christi High School in Jackson, Michigan, Father Jeff Rose.
Almighty God, we thank you for another glorious day here at Michigan International Speedway. We ask your blessing upon it. Keep our drivers and crew safe. And on this Flag Day, we thank you for this great country, for the men and women who've laid down their lives for it, and for our servicemen and women who are protecting us as we speak. We ask this all through Christ our Lord. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, with our national anthem, the Army Chorus a cappella team.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series has been coming here since June 15th, 1969. The first race here won by Cale Yarborough. Who's going to win the next one? We're about to find out. That's how you get to the track in a hurry. The flyover here at Michigan International Speedway, 400 miles, ready for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Final stories from pit road. Let's take you there.
Thank you so much, Bill. You know, Jimmy Johnson qualified third in this race, but once again, his crew chief, Chad Knaus, has chosen the very last pit box, the one at the entrance right here on pit road. When I asked Chad why he did that, he said part of that reason is because he just likes people to ask him about it in the first place. But honestly, this big space you see right in front of the pit box, it will help Jimmy today in the pits. This is a track, just one of 6, where he has never won. Matt?
Owner Jack Roush had a great Saturday going to Victory Lane in the Craftsman Truck Series. It's now called Camping World Truck Series. He's trying to go to Sprint Cup Victory Lane once again with this guy, Greg Biffle. Twice they've gone to Victory Lane here. Now, if you talk to the Gregs, Irwin, his crew chief, a little more optimistic than Biffle, the driver. But Biffle thinks they've got a pretty good mount. He's gone to Victory Lane here twice, looking for number 3. Ralph?
Matt, on Friday night, Kurt Busch was riding a Zamboni at Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Today, he's hoping to plow through the field for what would be career victory number 3 here at MIS. He's going to start 5th today. Marty?
Well, Ralph, it's been an interesting week for Brian Vickers. Early in the week, he pulled off a pit stop in Times Square without the city knowing about it. Did not get arrested, thank goodness. But the one good thing for Vickers, very close to a contract agreement with Red Bull Racing to extend his time here. And on the pole, I asked him moments ago, is this one of the best cars you've had all year long? He said, no doubt about it. Good enough to win was my question. He said, probably so. Bill?
Thanks, Marty. Hope you guys and Lindsay have a fun day down there on pit road at Michigan. 9 different winners this season in the first 14 races. 8 of them are in the field today. 13 of the drivers in the starting field here have won at Michigan. There are 7 former series champions in the field. They have combined for 13 championships. There are 13 drivers in the starting field that are looking for their first career Sprint Cup win. Kyle Busch had a decent day on Saturday, could not get to victory lane. He'll try again this afternoon. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts deep in this field. That's been a trend. Can they turn it around this week here at Michigan? Tony Stewart went to victory lane at Pocono. Got some help from fuel mileage and a light foot. We'll see what happens this afternoon. Get ready to rock, everybody, because right now we're going to take you trackside and get the command.
And now, race fans, it's time for those most honest words in motorsports. Please welcome back your Grand Marshal, Kid Rock.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
That'll make the highlight reel. Everybody fired up now. The engines roar to life. Green flag racing from Michigan coming up next. This is NASCAR on TNT.
This is Michigan.
Yes, it is. TNT Sports presents the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Today, it's 400 miles from the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. As we've talked about, perfect day for racing and for race fans. 74 degrees, might get a little warmer than that. Just a very, very slight chance of showers later today. Hi, everybody. Bill Weber along with Wally Dallenbach and Kyle Petty. Thanks for having us in for the race. 200 miles, 400 laps on some pretty racy surfaces here and some high speeds heading into turn one. It's a blast to drive here, and if you can't be in the car, it's just as much fun to watch.
Hey, everybody comes here and loves this racetrack. All the drivers love this racetrack, and the reason is it's so wide, it's so smooth, and there's about 4 grooves around this place. You can run all over this place. You can get 4 wide on this racetrack, and it's not a problem. And another thing is, it doesn't matter where you qualify. You can qualify all the way in the back, but because there's so much racing room, it doesn't matter. You can work your way up to the front before the first pit stop.
Funny you should mention that. The field qualified here on Friday. Brian Vickers is on the pole, but when you look at the starting grid, there are guys you're going to be watching all over the place as we come to the green.
Yeah, and just as you said, you got to work your way to the front. We've got who? We got Jeff Gordon, we got Mark Martin, we got Junior, we got Carl Edwards, guys that we usually see up front and we think are going to be up front. They're starting at the back. Now up front, we've got Bill Elliott, who absolutely loves this place. We've got John Andretti, who's had a tremendous qualifying effort. He loves this place. And then we've got A.J. Allmendinger.
Right.
I'm blank on that. Sorry about that. A.J. Allmendinger, who has had great weeks the last couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see. Did these guys just do a special qualifying lap or whatever? Can they stay up there, and can these guys come from the back?
And of course, we'll have double file restart shootout style from the very first restart until the final lap of the race. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's take you through the starting grid for this afternoon's Sprint Cup Series race here at Michigan. Brian Vickers, third pole of the season. That ties Mark Martin. He's next to Kyle Busch on the front row. Row 2, Jimmy Johnson. Next to David Rudiman, the winner at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. In row 3, Kurt Busch. He's been to victory lane here a couple of times, and you heard Kyle talk about AJ. See how he finishes today. In row 4, Juan Pablo Montoya. He's the defending champ. When we get to Sonoma next week, he's next to Casey Kane. Chevrolet for Clint Boyer in row 5. Next to John Andretti, another Chevrolet. Stephen Lane helping John get a good qualifying lap in. In row 6, last week's winner, Tony Stewart. Next to the Childress Chevrolet for Kevin Harvick. In row 7, Robbie Gordon. Next to Denny Hamlin. There's Bill Elliott. He's back there in row 8. Next to a former Michigan winner, Matt Kenseth. Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman are in row 9. Back in row 10, Martin Truex Jr. And there's Greg Biffle. And as you look at the rest of the starting grid, Kyle is going to try the radio.
Greg Biffle, this is Cal Petty in the booth. Can you hear me? Greg Biffle, this is Kyle Petty in the booth. Do you hear me?
I got you, Kyle.
Hey, this is pretty cool. I got to tell you straight up, man, you're the first guy I've ever talked to from the booth in another race car. Most of the time I scream at other guys when I'm driving my car, but never talk to somebody. But the weather was a little bit warm on Friday, cool yesterday in practice. You guys got your fuel mileage and you're set up ready for today with the sun out and the way it is?
Well, yeah, Kyle, we think the track's going to be a little bit on the slick side today. You know, we know a little bit warmer, about 7 to 10 degrees warmer today, and a little bit of sun on the race surface. So we know it's going to be a little bit slick, and we're just prepared for it. You know, the guys working on the engine, they made a few adjustments, so we'll get a fuel mileage run this first time, this first stint, see how we are in fuel mileage, and hopefully work on our car, work our way to the front, this 3M Ford Fusion.
All right, man, good luck today. Drive it like you drove those cars over to the test track the other day.
I plan on it. Thanks, Kyle.
So Greg Biffle and the rest of the 42 drivers ready to go racing here at Michigan this afternoon. Before we do that, let's check in with Larry McReynolds.
Well, Bill, you just heard Kyle and Greg Biffle talking about how much different this racetrack is today from yesterday. It has lost a ton of grip. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of scrambling in the garage area this morning. But even with that said, we know every time a driver comes to pit road, he'd love to get 4 brand new Goodyear tires. But we also know track position is so important here, and it's hard to pass. So we may see some guys that are starting near the rear have to make a gamble early just to maybe test the waters for possibly late in the race. And I think Ralph Shaheen is with one of those crew chiefs. They qualified 30th, and oh, by the way, a year ago, this team gambled and won the race.
That's right. Lance McGrew, crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car. 2 tires, 4 tires. How will that strategy play out today for you?
Well, I think it really depends on how the Samp Energy National Guard Chevrolet's running. I feel like if we're running strong in the beginning of the race and we're making up spots, they're usually caution around 20 to 30. We'll probably come in and get 4 tires and just keep letting the performance of the car carry us up through the field. Hopefully we won't have to do any tricks with 2 tires to get up there.
Bill, in talking to Lance just a few minutes ago, he was telling me that Junior was very happy with the car at the end of happy hour yesterday. However, Lance didn't have the car where he was happy. So they built a lot of adjustability into the car. So hopefully they can both find a happy median and maybe victory lane today.
Thanks, Ralph. We'll be watching for that. A little over a lap to go before we go green. Some pre-race conversation between Jimmy Johnson and his crew.
Guys, here we go. 200 laps, 400 miles. This is one of those races that really kind of unexpected what's going to happen. We're going to have to watch tire fall off, be prepared for 2 tires, be prepared for a gas to go at the end. You just don't really know what's going to happen at this track. So just be on your toes, guys. Keep your helmets close by. Keep all your equipment ready to go.
The voice of crew chief Chad Knaus. Before we go racing this afternoon, our best wishes to Johnny Benson, involved in an accident last night at Berlin Raceway. We talked to the people from NASCAR. They've been in contact with Johnny's doctors. He does have some broken ribs and perhaps a damaged lung injury, but we understand he's doing a little bit better today. And Johnny, we hope you're watching and feeling better. And everybody here was asking about you and thinking about you today. So our best get well wishes to Johnny Benson. Take a look at the race analysis. 200 laps, pit road speed 55 miles per hour. The pit window 42 to 46 laps. We'll see how they do that with the fuel here if it comes down to that. And Jeff Gordon, Sam Hornish, and Joe Nemechek going to the back of the field. Remember, we will have the double file restarts here this afternoon, shootout style. Should make for some added excitement. Been some huge names going to victory lane here. Every driver on this track would like to join them today. There's Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, on board with Joey Logano. See how these drivers fare this afternoon. We're getting ready to go. Mike Walls is our director. Barry Landis will produce. A crew of 210 in the truck, around the track, and here in the booth. Ron Skinner, Barb Hanford, Greg Newton, Russell Winwright, Maggie Darst, Ashley Washington, Charlize Youngtie, and Mr. Everything, Andy Jeffers. They're all on their toes, so you can relax and enjoy a Sunday afternoon. 400 miles here at Michigan. Hope you enjoy the ride. Want to let you know that the light that serves at the entrance of pit road is not functioning right now, so it will be flags only, signifying if pit road is open or closed. Out of turn 4, the fans on their feet. 43 cars coming to get the green flag at Michigan.
Jimmy Johnson jumps out, got a great start. He's down on the bottom already, trying to get the lead away.
Kyle Busch leads the first lap.
Wally mentioned the 48 car and the great start he has. I'm not sure the 83 took off.
No,
because the 48 was all over his bumper, and the outside line took off because you see the 18 up there.
And it also looked like he got a little bit loose in between 1 and 2. You know, low tire pressures, tires are cold.
And you saw Kyle Busch kick up some dust on the front stretch. One of the vehicles in the pre-race festivities dropped some oil on the track, so they had to put down some speedy dry before we went green. You might see a little bit of that left down there now.
Yeah, and that's always special when you set your car up and do everything right and they mess up the racetrack in pre-race.
They did a good job getting most of it cleaned up. Johnson runs second, then Vickers. There's Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge, the 2-car. Boy, they got racy here early. Montoya behind Busch. It's Juan Pablo.
You know, when Juan first came to this racetrack, he kind of picked up on it really, really quick. But he run all over the racetrack. He run high, he run low, he run anywhere he wanted to. And you know, they come up here this time with the Chevys compared to the Fords. They're pretty decent, man.
See Kurt there in the 2-car. He's really working that high line. He was the first car earliest as far as I was, you know, getting up there and trying to get some rubber worked into that high groove.
And you'll be looking all day for the best groove for your car.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you know, sometimes you like running high, or you may like running down on the white line, but you have to go where the car wants to go, where it's free. And normally around the top of this racetrack, especially after you run the tires off a little bit, it's best to run the high line to keep that engine wound up and keep the car. It really comes off the corners well. So I think if you can get your car working on the high line, it's probably the place to be.
Yeah, and you saw that. The 2-car and the 41 car. The 41 car was always down on the bottom. He could pull up under him in the corner when they had fresh tires. Now that you see the tires go away after 3 or 4 laps, 4 or 5 laps, tire drop off, you see the 2 pulls away from him.
Got one report they might be looking for smoke off the back of the 24 car, Jeff Gordon. And remember, they lost a motor in practice here on Friday, so they had to start at the rear of the field.
The only smoke so far off the back of the 24 is the guys he's smoking as he goes around them to the front.
32nd spot right now with Jeff Gordon.
That's Sam Hornish Jr. in that 77 car. Hornish also started at the back of the pack after an engine change.
You know, in the opening, we mentioned Allmendinger and AJ and John Andretti,
right,
and Bill Elliott. They're maintaining. They have not fallen back. They're maintaining in the first 5 or 6 laps of the race, and a lot of times that's indicative that they are on the race setup and they have come to race. They didn't just come to qualify.
Another guy on the move here so far, Greg Biffle. Gordon has gained 12 positions, Biffle 10. You saw Hornish, he's picked up 8 since the green flag. Another guy trying to move forward, Mark Martin, from the 32nd position. Let's get a report from pit road. How about the Biff, Matt?
Bill, Greg Biffle thought at the conclusion of final practice they're on a scale of 8.5 on a 1 to 10 as far as his happy scale. Not jumping up and down, he said, but they felt pretty confident about their package. The only issue, he said, he felt like it might be a little tight, and that's exactly early on the complaint that's coming from the cockpit. A little tight out of center.
Looking down low, it's Clint Boyer in the 33, the Childress Chevrolet. Boy, Biffle just loves this track. He's loved it ever since he started racing here back in the trucks in '98. There's your race leader, Kyle Busch in the 18. 9th race Kyle has led this season. He has led the most laps in 2009.
And you see that 48 working that high groove, and you can see how he closed the gap. He just picked up 4 car lengths on Kyle right there. So you obviously see the big 2 differences right now. Kyle's trying to work the low line, but watch the 48 as he runs high, especially off the corner. This is where you get ahead of steam and go.
This is for the lead. Johnson has it. About the 18, Marty.
Yeah, this is what Kyle Busch was worried about. Talked to him this morning. He told me the car is almost too good at the beginning of a run. They really felt like they lost time, Bill, on old tires at the end of the run. And as he predicted, he said about 10 laps into the run, that's when our car starts to fall off. As you see, Jimmy Johnson has now gone around for the lead. A little bit too loose for Kyle Busch right now. Lindsay?
Yeah, Marty, Jimmy Johnson right now being pretty quiet on the radio. They were worried in practice that their car has been really free. They were really battling with that. But Jimmy still looking for that first win here in Michigan. And when I talked to Chad Knaus earlier today, he said it's not that we haven't had strong cars. It's just that we've had mechanical issues, fuel mileage problems, and we think we can get it done today.
We'll be watching. Jimmy Johnson leads in the Chevrolet. Chevrolet has only 1 win here in the last 15 races. Of course, that would have been Dale Earnhardt Jr. last year. "13 laps are complete here at Michigan for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. There's your race leader, Jimmy Johnson. Behind him, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Brian Vickers, and Casey Kane. There's Kane and Vickers. Kane in the 9, Vickers in the 83. Brian started from the pole. Kurt Busch has gotten around them. Let's get a check on the 18. Marty.
Bill, Kyle Busch currently in second, trying to hang on to that. And he says he now has a vibration that he feels like is coming from the engine. Here's what he said on the radio.
When I get out of the gas, getting into the corner, I have a vibration that kicks in at 8,000 and stays with me off throttle, on throttle, all the way till I get to 9,000. It goes away.
And the engine gurus at Joe Gibbs Racing now on top of the pit box with Steve Addington trying to diagnose what might possibly be going on with this engine. Larry, Matt?
You know, Marty, whether you run a Chevrolet, a Toyota, Ford, or a Dodge, it doesn't matter. There's an RPM band that engines do not like. They have what we call harmonics. Now, I've never heard of that being the case basically in a 1,000 RPM window. I know that was a big concern when we went to the bigger restrictor plate at Daytona Talladega. It put it in the RPM band that the engine doesn't like. But that's an awfully big window. But if it's only doing it there, you would have to believe it's something to do with the harmonics of the engine.
So are you worried?
Absolutely, but because anytime you've got a vibration, especially this early in the race, Bill, and you're in the throttle so much here, and like I talked in the pre-race show, this place is hard on the engines anyhow. No question, I'm sure they've got their heads together right now.
Hey, Larry, let me ask you one more thing. Could it be something beside the engine? Because he said it's not only off the gas, it's on the gas. You know, sometimes you have you've been in a wreck, you have a fender flapping, you have the skirt flapping, you have something hitting that sends the harmonics to a car at a certain speed or at a certain angle. Could it be something different than the engine?
Well, Kyle, I've even found where tailpipes against the frame or something like that, as the engine goes through a certain RPM band starting to build speed, can make the driver feel like he's got a vibration in the engine.
3 engine-related DNFs in each race here last year. We'll keep an eye on Kyle. There's his teammate in the 20, Joey Logano. And let's go back a few laps here and watch the 20 car.
20 comes off turn. Oh, decides to stop by Krispy Kreme and get a couple of donuts right there.
That's a good line.
Yeah, look at this. Boom.
It's David Stremme in the 12, Jamie McMurray in the 26. See the Goodyear's rubbed off the front of that, off the side of that left front tire. Logano got the win last night in the Nationwide Series race.
And you see that fender. That fender's driven in on top of the tire. You could just barely see the shine of the tire. Even though the Goodyear's worn off of it, you can see the shine right when he dropped it down on it. So they'll have to watch that. And hopefully they'll get a caution and be able to pull it off.
About an update on the 20 from Ralph.
Bill, he's been struggling to get that car up off the corner, and when you put it up in traffic like that, that makes the condition even worse, and that's all part of the issue for Joey Logano right now. And talking to crew chief Greg Zipadelli earlier today, he said, you know, when we come to a new racetrack Joey's never been to, we think we go where he's going, and then he starts searching around the racetrack, and it takes him a while to figure out where he's comfortable, and then we have to chase him with the setup of the race car. About halfway through the race is where they really start to feel comfortable with what Joey's going to be doing on the track.
Yeah, and that's fairly common for a young driver to go and find the groove early in the week and do whatever he wants to do, but constantly keep searching. And you look for it. He's having trouble just getting the car where he wants to go, and there's a one car all over him pushing him down the straightaway. You're not learning right there. You're just hanging on trying to get out of the way.
And this track will force you somewhere eventually, because this track, normally when you get a lot of rubber on this racetrack, it gets tighter, and you start sliding, and you run the high line. So, yeah, this is a big learning curve right now for him.
So Tony Stewart take the position from Brian Vickers. Jimmy Johnson has led 12 of the first 20 laps this afternoon here at Michigan. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Tony Raines and Joe Nemechek have gone to the garage. Max Pappas is 1 lap down. There are currently 40 cars scored on the lead lap. Let's look at today's UPS Maximum driver. Jimmy Johnson has led a lap in 13 of the 15 races this season. That includes today. And coming in, he had led 648 laps. This race season, look for David Reagan to take on the delivery drivers of UPS in Maximum driver. So Johnson is the leader. Then it's Kyle Busch, then Kurt Busch. That's back around 10th position. The 11 of Hamlin and the 00 of David Rudiman. Hamlin takes the position. Just to update you on some of these guys quickly, Jeff Gordon has picked up 26 positions after starting at the back of the field. Mark Martin came from 32nd. He's picked up 16. Greg Biffle up 13 positions. Carl Edwards has picked up 12. David Reagan plus 9. So a lot of the guys that Kyle talked about at the back of the field have really come marching through with just 25 laps complete. Johnson has led 17 of those 25 laps. Kyle Busch led for 8. And Johnson's lead is now 5.5 seconds. And there is Mark Martin, a popular pick to go to victory lane here this afternoon when you talk to the teams in the garage. And there you can see the progress he's made through the field. Let's check in with Matt Yoder.
And his spotter keeping Mark abreast of just what the competition is doing as far as where they're running on the racetrack. And Mark is actually in the high line for Mark Martin. Typically 1 to 1.5 lanes off the bottom is as high as he likes to go. A bottom dweller right now. He says really not a lot of grip. That's his biggest issue. Marty Snyder.
Well, Matt, when one of the cars fell to the back of the field, Carl Edwards started actually this race 27th. Where did he win from last August when he started at Michigan? 27th. Carl hoping to pull off the same feat today as Mark Martin goes around him. He's got a problem, though. When he runs the bottom of the racetrack, it's too tight. When he runs the top, it's too loose. So right now he's kind of running the middle, trying to find the ground that he would like to get to. They've made a lot of ground up so far earlier in this race, and only once in Carl's career has he not finished in the top 10 here at Michigan, though.
Thank you, Matt. Juan Pablo Montoya, Greg Biffle.
Yeah, Montoya looked really good in the last practice, and he's been pretty fast here all weekend. I think these guys are going to have a good day.
Looking to rebound from Pocono, although he did post a good finish at Pocono, he just really didn't have a very good race.
And that's depressing in a lot of ways. Because no, you leave for other people. You leave and you think, man, we had a good finish. We stole one right there. But you can't figure out why you run bad.
Lindsay Zarniak.
Bill, you know, it's interesting, and I want to add on what you guys are talking about. I talked to one Montoya's crew chief this morning, Brian Patty, and he said actually it was my inexperience that he thinks has hurt them here in the past. And he said that he came here and they tried all different things, and it's really made a difference for Montoya. Brian Patty said that they've really kind of hit on some communication together, because when you look at it, he's never finished on the lead lap here at Michigan. So obviously they've made some changes that are pretty successful for them
off to a good start. I can tell you that Sterling Marlin and Dave Blaney have taken their cars to the garage. Two more of the teams that we talked about on the countdown to green did not plan to run the entire race. On board with Reed Sorensen here. This is down the front stretch, coming to the start-finish line. You see the flag stand on the right.
See, everybody's single file right now, and just look how everybody just kind of fans out. There's just so much real estate here that you can race on. And see how smooth it is, too. And that's why, you know, that helps being able to run all these different lines is a smooth racetrack.
Reed's in 32nd, looking at the rear bumper of Hornish. Up front, Johnson's increased his lead to almost 7 seconds over Kyle Busch. Sorensen trying to get that position from Hornish.
And, you know, this is a tough pass to make coming off the inside or on the bottom of a racetrack when you've got a guy up on the high side. It's really a hard pass to pull off.
Well, here's another one then. Kurt Busch in the 2, his brother Kyle in the 18.
And Kurt was all the way up next to that safety barrier right there. I mean, he got it hung out there and it powered up, man, but it was good. But Kurt's been running. You know, we talked to him the other day, and he was looking forward to running this race today. He was looking forward. He thought he had a good week last week. Nothing to show for it, but he was looking forward to this.
Broke a water pump. He'd never heard of it. His crew chief, Pat Trison, had never heard of it. Even Larry Mack says, I've never heard of anybody breaking a water pump. They broke one last week and made changes to it for this week. The Irish Hills of Michigan on a beautiful race weekend here at the Michigan International Speedway. NASCAR on TNT, 35 laps in to this 400-mile race at Michigan. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. A couple of guys that started in the top 10. John Andretti has dropped to 26th from 10th, and A.J. Allmendinger from 6th to 19th. Here are some Coors Light cold hard facts. Only one driver has scored his first career win at Michigan. That was Dale Jarrett in August of 1991. And that was a fantastic race and an unbelievable finish. Who did Jarrett pass on the last lap? Really, at the basically coming out of 4 was Davey Allison. And who was Davey Allison's crew chief that day? Well, by gosh, it was Larry McReynolds. And I'm sure he's thrilled that we brought that up. Those are our Coors Light cold hard facts. We're closing in on pit stops. They're really not too far away. We're going to try and get a top 10 through the field here. We see some cars coming down pit road as we speak. But let's start with Jimmy Johnson and go through the field, Lindsay.
Bill, Jimmy Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaus planning on their first pit stop in about 4 laps from now. Jimmy just told Chad the exits are very consistent, but right now the center's just getting a little bit snug. Not tight, just snug. Bill?
They may come in early, Bill.
Yeah, they are. Robbie Gordon's been on pit road. Menard, Labonte, Matt.
Bill, significant chassis adjustment already completed for the 9. The Budweiser car of Casey Kane. His car way too free. Lindsay.
Matt, the 17 coming on in. Matt Kenseth had just said the car a little bit loose in the turns, also loose on the throttle. You see him making his way down pit road. They plan on making a track bar adjustment for Matt Kenseth, also air pressure. So far, so good, Matt.
And the 16 of Greg Biffle making his way down to his pit box to Greg Irwin and the guys. Biffle said his biggest complaint, lack of grip, especially in the back of the car. It's really tight. He tried changing his lines up. They were talking about a wedge adjustment. You can see that's already completed. Around to work on the left side. Air pressure change as well for the Biff. Let's go further up pit road to Marty.
Well, Matt, Carl Edwards very cognizant of the pit road speed. 4,700 in second gear. Got a few speeding penalties last night in the Nationwide Series race in Kentucky. He said he just absolutely has no grip out there. They make a wedge adjustment trying to get this car a little bit better for Edwards, who wants to run the top if he can, Ralph.
Waiting for the 2 of Kurt Busch to make his way down pit lane. He was struggling to get this car to turn early on. Then all of a sudden, she just woke up on him. And he went right to the front like a rocket ship. Was one of the fastest cars out there. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment to this car. And that's about it, Marty. They're very happy with the 2.
Kyle Busch lost second place at the very end of that run right there. He's a little bit loose in the middle of 3 and 4 and tight off of 3 and 4. Track bar adjustment, also an air pressure adjustment for Kyle Busch, Matt.
And Tony Stewart's team has already serviced his Chevrolet. Air pressure change for Stewart. In the back of the car, just needed more forward bite.
Thanks, Matt. We have been green since we started this race. 40 laps are complete, cycling through green flag pit stops right now. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. Johnson, Vickers. Well, Vickers on pit road now. Jimmy has yet to stop. Vickers all the way down toward pit exit, Marty.
And Bill just filed it away, obviously getting very good fuel mileage for Brian Vickers. Ryan Pimda told me this morning that would be the case for this team. Extremely loose. He said when he gets to the gas, back end wants to spin out, down one round on the track bar. Also an air pressure adjustment, Lindsay.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson is in his pit stall. The guys have gone around to the car. They're going to give him 4 tires and fuel. Jimmy also saying he has now lost overall grip, Marty.
Jeff Gordon in here has gained a ton of spots since the beginning of this race, already leaving pit road. This is where they think they can gain a lot of time today. Gordon tight in 3, loose off 4. So they made an air pressure and a wedge adjustment trying to fix them up.
As we talked about, Gordon had gained 24 positions under green since we started. Jimmy Johnson comes off of pit road. He will resume his position as the race leader. He has led 33 laps. Kyle Busch has led 8. 41 laps are complete. You look at Casey Kane. Runs in the 2nd spot. There's Jimmy. So he's out front. He'll come around, run through the scoring loop, and see what his lead is over Casey Kane. It's Johnson, Kane, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle still under green here at Michigan. Working lap 46 of 200 at Michigan International Speedway for the Sprint Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. We've cycled through green flag stops. Jimmy never lost his lead. His lead was 6.8 seconds before the pit stop started. Now it's 4.5 seconds over Casey Kane. NASCAR fans, let's look at this week's standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. Fans, don't forget to cast your vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. You can do it from your AT&T phone. Text in the car number for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable in each race to 2258. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. Kyle Busch looking forward at Greg Biffle.
You know, this is interesting. We heard Kyle Busch talk earlier about having a vibration between 8 and 9, but he's really maintained. He's not lost anything. You know, the 48 car passed him early in the race, and these cars passed him until the 16 car just passed him there on the racetrack. The only other car that's really passed him on the racetrack has been the 2 cars, so he's really didn't lose anything from the vibration. So it's interesting to see, wonder how this plays out, or if they've got a handle on it, or after the pit stops, if that vibration went away.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, to see if maybe it was a wheel, and it threw a weight or something like that, you know, in the first few laps.
Now, another thing we were watching was that Casey Kane picked up some time on the track because he pitted earlier and had the fresher tires. He's now 5.2 seconds behind Johnson. Then it's Biffle, then Kyle Busch in 4th, down to Marty.
Yeah, guys, he hasn't really mentioned that vibration, talking about Kyle Busch, since the one time he mentioned it early on. Chassis-wise, felt like the car was pretty good. Again, they felt like they gave up too much towards the end of the run. Tell you what, a lot of crew chiefs looking to the skies right now because it's starting to cloud up, and that certainly will affect the racetrack a little bit as well.
Well, and especially since, Marty, I mean, there's a lot of cars right now that are talking about no grip and no side bite. And if that sun comes out, that ain't going to help the grip at all.
Yeah, and no side bite is a funny term that you only hear race car drivers use. What is side bite? You know, you're sitting at a stoplight and you leave and you go forward. You feel your car move forward. That's bite. That's when they say they have no grip. That would be like you just get in the gas and spin the rear tires. That's no grip, and that's what these guys feel as they leave coming up out of the corner. They feel that little, as the rear of the car squats and they move forward.
It'd be like if you turned right at that light and just spun out.
And you spun out. That's no side bite. Right. Because when you turn and the car rolls that way, that's side bite. You want a little bit of a cushion on that right rear. And some of these guys are saying, I've got no forward grip, but I've got no side bite either, which really scares them getting in the corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you get in the corner, you carry so much speed here at this racetrack. You go diving down in the corner, and the car, here's where that side bite's holding you in the racetrack, right here. the car's gripping right here, and that's where you want the side bite. See the 9 car? See how that thing is floating through the corner and the rear of the car is kind of dancing around? He doesn't have a whole lot of side bite.
Yeah, that's not, he's losing side bite and forward bite all at the same time, and this is where he gives it up. See how he goes in the corner, and he's up at the top. He's afraid to get off in that corner because he knows he's got nothing to lean on over there.
Biffle to second place around Casey Kane. Matt on Casey Kane.
And Bill, he's been running the Richard Petty line right up by the wall much of this event. Now his biggest issue, you touched on it, lack of grip. They made an air pressure change on the last stop to try to help that. And Casey says that it did help on the beginning of the run, the front side of the run. His car much better, but it'll be a work in progress. The next stop already looking ahead. What change they'll make next to get this car better and better.
And you almost, Matt, you almost have to be 2 steps ahead, because if your car doesn't have it now and that sun comes out, you need to make sure that you make a big enough adjustment on that car to make up for when this track gets hot.
And just want to point out, on June 14th, 1998, this race went 118 laps before the first caution flag came out. And they have had a caution
year?
1998. There's David Rudiman.
Say I remember that.
He runs in the 14th position, and he was talking to his crew about how his car is handling.
Evil loose on entry 2. Evil loose. I can't run the top. Jumps out on me getting in. Stuck to the center. Quick as I go to the gas and try to get off with it. Just loose. No side bite at all. Simple. We'll just work on the back, trying to make the back better. Yeah, you got to do something to get the back in the racetrack big time, bud. But it's hung out at a 45-degree angle all the way to the center of the corner as it is right now.
And guys, just for a way overview, let's review David Rudiman's weekend. First lap on the track Friday in practice, he scraped the wall because the car bottomed out so bad. Then he went out and qualified 4th. Then yesterday in practice, the car back downhill was not very good. Kyle and Wally, I'm sure you've had one of those weekends where highs and lows all weekend. Right now, Rudiman in one of those ruts. Not very happy with that race car, as you can tell.
And actually, Kyle touched on it. You can run the high line because you don't want to turn the wheel. He's so loose, you can't even run the high line. He needs to run the middle, so he's got all that real estate, because he's gonna take up the whole racetrack. And it's really, really bad at a track like this if you're loose in.
Yeah, and I like this comment. I'm at a 45-degree angle all the way through the corner. Well, let me tell you something. The corner at Michigan is from turn 3 back over to turn 2, because you never really run straight at this racetrack except right in the middle of the backstretch.
Now, when Kurt Busch pitted, we saw the damage to the right side of his car, so he's already contacted the wall, or at least brushed it one time, and he has been running that high groove all day since the green flag. See Tony Stewart's on board looking back at Kurt, that Miller Lite Dodge. Meanwhile, up front, it has been Jimmy Johnson. He has led 46 of the 54 laps, and he is 7 seconds ahead of Greg Biffle. And we welcome you back to the Jimmy Johnson Show here at the Michigan International Speedway. 58 laps are complete. Jimmy's led 50 of them, and he's 7.2 seconds ahead of second place Greg Biffle. Here's today's Lifelock trivia question. Who was the oldest driver ever to win a NASCAR Sprint Cup race?
I know this, so I'm not going to answer it.
That's how you did it in school, isn't it?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Who's the oldest driver ever to win a NASCAR Sprint Cup race?
Harry Gant.
That's right. Harry Gant, 52 years, 7 months, 6 days. He did it right here in 1992.
Mark Martin may blow that record all to pieces at some point.
He could. Yeah. He could. And there'd be nobody more happier for him than Harry Gant.
Yeah.
This is a gratuitous Kyle Petty shot here. This is Bobby Labonte, 3 wins here, 4 pole positions. Bobby just got knocked off the lead lap. He scored in the 32nd position.
But wait a minute. Bobby has just become a new uncle. Okay. Christy Labonte, Terry's daughter. So now that makes Terry a grandfather, right? Terry Labonte.
Yes, I'm glad.
Talking about the oldest driver.
That's not how he explained it to you, though.
Yeah, Terry Labonte's a grandfather now. So Terry and Kim are grandparents, but Christy had a little boy named Asher. Matt and Christy, they live in Texas, and I think Terry and Bobby and the whole family is all excited for Christy.
And we congratulate the entire Labonte family. Now we'll try and do it again. Through the field, ladies first. Here's Lindsay.
Thanks, Bill. As part of that Jimmy Johnson show that you talked about, Johnson obviously would love to take home the trophy today, but he just got on the radio, said the car's a little bit free into one. Front of the car is positive. He said we've got to adjust the back of the car to the track a little bit more. Matt?
The fastest Ford belongs to Greg Biffle, the 16, currently runs second. The car, he says, is a little bit on the free side. He and Greg Irwin were hoping that the sun would come out. As the progression continues throughout the whole weekend, the track getting hotter and hotter. They're hoping for a slick track. Meanwhile, the 9 of Casey Kane. This was a great stretch for him last year. Kane hoping for another win here at MIS. He says the back of the car still not into the racetrack. Looking for another chassis adjustment on the next stop. Meanwhile, Tony Stewart, he has scored 429 more points this year than he did 1 year ago heading into the 15th race of the year. Stewart's biggest complaint earlier, no grip. Air pressure change in the last stop. No comment since. He runs fourth. Ralph?
Matt, Kurt Busch just said on the radio, same thing every week. As the track gets more and more tight, we get more and more tight as well. And it's a problem that he's having to deal with, but he's doing a good job with it. He's got that car running up in the 5th position right now, still sitting in the top 5 right where he started, Lindsay.
Ralph, it's funny because Juan Pablo Montoya, he'll tell you he is never satisfied with this car, but he's got to be pretty happy right now running 6th. After all, he's never finished better than 25th at this track, but right now they continue to tell him the car is very, very good, dude, Marty.
Lindsay, earlier this week, Kyle Busch told me, you know, I've never figured out Michigan like I have California. I like to race California a little bit better. For some reason, Michigan, just not my best racetrack right now. Kyle going the wrong direction as well. Currently, he's in the 7th position. His car extremely loose. He said, guys, you know what? We fixed the exit, but now I'm too loose off the exits. We made it a little bit better. Need to go a little further, Ralph.
Even with the clouds coming over the racetrack, Marty, and the track getting tighter, Boyer is still dealing with a very loose race car. It's something he's had to deal with ever since this race got underway. They made a lot of air pressure adjustments, still hasn't dialed it around, but he is running 1 spot better than where he started. He currently sits in 8th. Marty?
Ralph Denny Hamlin just took the 9th position away a moment ago. His car very, very loose on that last run. They made an air pressure and a wedge adjustment trying to get him better. And the car, as you see Denny running that very, very high line, is better on this run. This is the latest and greatest Joe Gibbs Racing chassis. Lightest chassis they've ever built. The team very excited about this car, Lindsay.
Marty, the 17, a little bit concerned about their car. In fact, they had considered bringing it in because Matt thought that the left front might be going down. Obviously, that's not the case, but he'll tell you the car very, very loose on entry. Matt does not know, in fact, what they did to the car on that last stop to make it feel that way. Right behind him, a very different story, David Reagan, who is running basically the race of his life here at Michigan. Reagan has really, really struggled this season. I talked to his crew chief, Jim Infegan, in the car, the garage this morning, who said he is trying to keep this team very positive, very motivated, and right now, David's getting the job done, Larry.
Yeah, Lindsay, I've been watching Mark Martin in this 5 car. Remember, he started back in the 32nd position, but he was so happy with his car yesterday that they quit practice early. But I think Mark Martin, like about 30 or 40 other drivers, to get caught up to his teammate Jimmy Johnson, they're going to need a caution because right now he's 22 seconds behind his teammate.
That's a good point, Larry. Mark Martin runs in the 13th position. Then it's Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, David Rudiman. Let's see, Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 18th position, then Robbie Gordon and Kevin Harvick. The rest of the cars on the lead lap: Sadler, Newman, McMurray, and Sorensen. Only 24 cars on the lead lap. Jeff Burton is the first car, 1 lap down. We dropped the green. We've stayed green for the first 66 laps. Jimmy Johnson is the leader by 7.7 seconds over Biffle. Or if you're in the booth, French fries.
Or if you're in the booth, French fries. That's exactly right.
Well, log on to NASCAR.com now and watch up to 4 live camera angles at once with the TNT Race Buddy Mosaic View, the TNT Race Buddy. He's at NASCAR.com. And we have an Ask the Booth question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm leaving the booth right now.
It's from Jay. The question is, will the double file restart rule apply at Sonoma next week?
Yes, it will. And I think that's going to be pretty exciting. I think at 2 places I'm looking forward to the most on the double file shotgun restarts. What is it called?
That's
Shootout
close, that's
restarts.
close enough. That was
Close
close
enough for
enough,
you.
man. I loved it.
But is Sonoma and Daytona. Daytona, that race is going to be spectacular as well.
Caution
what's
is
going
out.
on.
Front to brake. Caution's out. Front to brake.
Speaking of double foul
And now we're
restarts,
going to get one.
And let's see what strategy plays out here. And these teams were getting very close to green flag stops. Debris in turn 3. 72 laps are complete. This is our first caution of the race. The lucky dog is Ryan Newman.
And I'll tell you what, when it goes green here like it did, it's bad news for a lot of these guys, because there's a lot of guys that are lapped down now, because you get Jimmy Johnson gets hooked up, and some of those guys are struggling a little bit. And I mean, there's, I don't know what, 10 or more cars right now, one lap down.
Let's check in with Larry McReynolds.
Bill, a car I've been watching is that 6 car of David Reagan. He qualified back in the 23rd position. A little bit of a change with that team this week. Now, Jimmy Finning, the crew chief, he's still here. He's calling the race, but they decided to let engineer Chris Andrews work with David Reagan on the setup of this car. Just felt like they needed to try something, because remember, he's not had a top 10 finish since the Daytona 500 back in February. So far, science project working pretty good.
And he was very optimistic yesterday morning in the garage area. Big smile on his face. Said he really felt they were getting back to where they were in some of those good races they ran last year. See how it all plays out. Not even a halfway yet. There are 22 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Newman will be the 23rd car when he comes around as the lucky dog. Pit road should be open this time. It's Jimmy Johnson, then Biffle, Kane, Stewart, and Montoya, Kyle Busch, Boyer, Hamlin, Kurt Busch, and David Reagan. The field moves through turns 3 and 4. Johnson will hit first. Let's take you on down there a little early to Lindsay.
Thank you very much, Bill. Jimmy Johnson came on the radio, said, you know what, guys, it's really, really hard to even complain at all about this car. But what they've decided to do is try to free him up just a little bit. You heard him talk before about getting a little bit snug. Jimmy Johnson's going to come in. His team is going to give him 4 tires. They're going to drop the panel bar down a half a round and get him off the pit road. Matt?
Greg Biffle, the 16 car, hits pit road, slides, locks up those front wheels, getting into his pit box, spotlighting the rear carrier. His name is Kevin McDowell in the uniform, but it's really Garrett Reddy. McDowell's off with his wife Ashley having their baby. Chassis adjustment, air pressure change, trying to tighten up this 16 car route.
4 tires and fuel, and they're going down 1.5 rounds on the right rear. They're still trying to loosen up Kurt Busch. He's not a big fan of a tight race car, and that's what he's dealing with, Marty.
Ralph Kyle Busch has his car extremely loose, especially on exit. They did 1 round down on the track bar, and a lot of traffic there on pit road. Tight race off pit road, Bill.
Boy, you're not kidding. See, Vickers had that #1 stall. He creeps out as well. David Reagan picks up 5 spots. Look at Tony Stewart losing 6 spots. We'll find out what happened to those 2 guys. Reset the field, go back to green. This is NASCAR on TNT. Our TNT race family spending the weekend on the lake at Michigan and some time here at the track as well. 75 laps are complete. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader, and NASCAR thanks all the fans that are attending today and you watching on television as well. Everybody has been to pit road except Michael Waltrip, and he is the lone wave around car.
So now, unlike Pocono, and we talked about this last weekend, you could come in, get your pit stop, and come back out without getting lapped.
At Pocono.
At Pocono. Right. Here, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's a gamble. I mean,
it's going to. The interesting part here is, does he change 2? Does he change 4? Is it a gas and go? What does he do?
He has to gamble.
He's the gambler.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a test. A lot of people's going to go to school on Michael Waltrip, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Tony Stewart's pit stop. He currently runs in the 10th position. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. And here he comes down pit road, and listen.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Watch the front right tire changer.
That's only a couple of seconds. It's only maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds at the most that he got hung up on that right front, but that's 5 spots, you know, on the pit.
And we heard Tony on the audio while we were in commercial say nice recovery. So he was actually watching the tire changer when he went over there.
And it's always nice when the boss man says nice recovery, you know what I mean? And that keeps his team pumped up. I mean, they're coming off a win last week. They need to stay pumped up. You know, don't need to get down over a pit stop this early in the race.
Double file restart. 24 cars are scored on the lead lap, including Michael Waltrip, who was at the tail end of the field. Jimmy Johnson chose the outside line, leader's choice, on the restart. Double file restart, shootout style, all the lead lap cars up front. No passing till you cross start finish, and then they fan out.
That's like you showed earlier, Wally. They're 4 and 5 wide back. Yeah, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Look at them right
there. And that's fun. I mean, it's fun to do when you're driving at this racetrack and you've got good rubber on, and you can do that. I mean, it is a blast.
And it's fun to do because it's 4 or 5 wide, and they're all for positions. It's not like it used to be when it was 4 or 5 wide, and you're like, what are those lap cars doing down there 3 wide under me? I don't want them under me.
Oh, I thought you were going down a bad road.
I did not go down a bad road.
Mr. McReynolds?
Here, I think this is the betting window that Michael Waltrip and Booty Barker are standing in. I think their hopes and they're betting on the fact this double file restart shootout style is going to breed another caution, because remember, they have to come to pit road here shortly because they have not pitted since lap 38. They're very close on fuel with that 55 car.
And I think Larry is with me on we need to come up with a shorter name for this thing.
See those people on the other side of the glass right here, Wally? You want to go talk to them about that?
Shootout style, okay, guys? Great. That's what it is from now on.
Perfect name. Perfect name.
We also showed you that David Reagan lost a few spots on pit road, and now he's lost a few on the track. Took 4 tires and fuel. Kind of got pinched in some traffic getting off of pit road, and that could be where he lost those spots. Reagan runs in the 11th spot.
We're watching a 2-car Kurt Busch here. We had the opportunity early in the week to sit down with Kurt and talk to him. And Kurt made a couple of interesting comments that he hates a tight race car. Right. Hates a tight race car. And I mean, he was adamant about it. And then we heard Ralph, who did a great job on the pit whip, say, Kurt says his car's getting tight, continuing to get tighter, and the racetrack's going to get tight, and they got to do something about it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they made a major adjustment under this, because just as Wally said earlier, you got to count on the racetrack continuing to change.
And just about 3 or 4 cars behind that, you'll see the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's picked up 5 positions from the restart.
That was
almost Reagan 6 car. Yeah, that was big. He was pointed at the infield there for a second.
Almost what Michael Waltrip needed.
Yeah. And I don't know if he got help on that. I caught it just as he shot out of line there. But normally on a deal like that, you've got somebody on your bumper.
See if it'll come to me.
Let's take a look.
It's going to be behind this.
No, he just got loose.
Oh.
Way loose.
Wow. That's a tank slapping.
Man, that is good save.
Kenseth in the 17 on board with Tony Stewart.
I got to give Kenseth's son Ross a shout out. He ran at IRP last night and finished 5th down there in the division he runs, which is pretty cool. Matt flew down and spent the night with him. So shout out to Ross on that one.
Stewart picks up the position from Matt. Kenseth runs in the 7th spot. Michael Waltrip last pitted on lap 38. We're working lap 82. On board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Looking back at Kyle Busch. Here comes Carl Edwards.
And Kyle, both of them. Kyle working that high line. Boy, look at the run you get off there.
It's like you just run downhill. You know, it almost looks like it is so dramatic. He goes from the outside to the inside in the middle of the straightaway, you know, because you just get that power run. And here he is on the bottom.
Yeah, this is where you got to be able to get off the corner and slide in front of the guy.
Mark Martin has joined this as well in the 5 car. Kyle Busch is 8th. Earnhardt Jr. is 9th. Then we check in with Ralph Shaheen.
Well, that 88 car, Bill, remember I told you at the beginning of the race, they built a lot of adjustment into the car because Crew Chief Lance McGrew was just not happy with where they were on the charts, although Dale Jr. was very comfortable with the car. They keep working on it, They've been dealing with a loose adjustment. The last adjustment they made was on the track car, and that seems to be getting them a little bit closer. And as you can see, they're moving up the charts once again. Now they're sitting there running in 9th. Best they've been all day so far.
He's got, looks like a skirt or something there hanging off the right side right behind the door. Those skirts right there along the bottom of those cars are very important on how these cars handle. And it looks like right behind possibly where they put the jack, Kyle, the thing is flying out there.
Yeah, and that could come from a couple of things. The jack going up under the car, and as you drop the car and pull the jack out, you see the skirt. Or where this is at, this is all the way, that's right there at the tailpipe. That's where the tailpipe comes out. So it's almost like the tailpipe has burnt the pop rivets or burnt something through and it's beginning to come out a little bit.
This is a replay from a lap ago.
But and I think they're still really important. Those skirts, I mean, they actually help suck the car down to the racetrack. It almost creates a vacuum, and when you lose part of that skirt, you lose part of that vacuum.
You lose part of that downforce. These are critical to the aero of the car, and probably more so to this car than the old car that we used to run. A lot of times at Daytona and Talladega, you would change your skirts, move things around for drag and for different issues like that. So this is an important part of it. We keep talking about rhythm back. That's Junior talking about getting his rhythm back. We keep talking about side bite and forward bite. When you lose that downforce and you lose some of that, then it changes the side force and it charges side bite and it changes the forward bite and the forward grip. And when he's changing his aero package right here in the middle of the run because something's blowing off the car, it totally changes.
And he doesn't know it. Yeah. Right now he's probably lost a handle on his car. That's what he said. I need to get my rhythm back. Well, what he doesn't probably know sitting in that car right now is he just lost some of the downforce on that car. It ain't going to come back right away.
That's when you start screaming at the crew chief. What did y'all change on this car? What did you change? And they didn't change anything. It's just the nature of what's happening right now.
NASCAR has asked the 88 team to clean that up on the side of that car on their next pit stop.
And Junior just told NASCAR 10-4. We'll clean that up.
Dave Blaney, Sterling Marlin, Joe Nemechek, Tony Raines officially out of the race. 4 cars out of the race.
4, man. Looking real good here. Just keep digging there. You're better than that 33. He's got a big hole behind him for the 24. Nice and smooth.
Junior's onboard radio. In front of him, Mark Martin in that 5 car. Martin has moved up 21 positions since the start of the race. How about it, Matt?
Bill, a huge gain from starting back in 32nd. The first run, Mark didn't make any changes. Second run, he felt like he'd used up that right rear tire. And you know, Wally and KP, I know a number of times over the years, you guys have complained to your crew chief. I'm telling you, I hear a noise in the race car. Well, that's what Mark Martin told Alan Gustafson.
The steering gets hard. It gets hard, and I can hear it squeaking. There's a problem with this car. This Charlotte car, isn't it? Yeah, 10-4 Charlotte car.
Mark saying when he turns the wheel, it makes a squeaky noise. Right now, though, they made a chassis adjustment on the last stop. Still a tick on the free side as he heads back down to the bottom.
And you know, a lot of times a driver will ask a question like that, where did we run this car last? Because in his mind, he can't figure out what's going on in the car. And if it's a new car, then it's a totally new set of circumstances to you. But if you've run it before and you're familiar with it, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this car did this at Charlotte, and I forgot to tell you. Or I remember this car had that problem before. So a lot of times that's why a driver will go back and say, where did we run this?
I can tell you Michael Waltrip's hopes ran out. He had to pit on lap 84. He's currently scored 32nd, 1 lap down. Jimmy Johnson is the leader by 2 seconds at Michigan. All kinds of good stuff. Get this and more with NASCAR.com's Race View now for half the price. Check it out at NASCAR.com/RaceView. We're here at Michigan.
That was cool.
94 laps complete. Jimmy Johnson continues to lead.
Yeah, but, you know, there's some guys catching up a little bit, I think, making adjustments. and now they're running just as fast or pretty close to the 48 car. Biffle being one of them. Edwards is another one.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been looking at, following the times every lap, and there's 2 or 3 guys right now that are right there with Johnson. If they can get the track position, it's going to get good.
And that's kind of the way the race was at Pocono last week. Johnson could jump out front, but you give it halfway through a stop or towards the end of the stop. Here come those Roush guys. Here come the 16 of Biffle. Here come the 99 of Carl Edwards. So when you looked at it, they were better for the long run. But that 48 and Jimmy Johnson and Chad, they're just hard to beat. If you get it, you want to do a 15-20 lap shootout, they're your guys right now, man, because they kill you for 14 or 15, 20 laps.
We're getting close to pit stops. Let's check on a couple of these guys. Matt, you got the Biff?
Bill, the Biff currently runs in the second position. He's about 3 seconds back of leader Jimmy Johnson. Biffle feels like they're about 1 adjustment away from being as good or better than Jimmy Johnson. He's still a little bit on the free side, and about 4 laps ago, something they've been hoping for a while finally took place. The sun came out.
Very good. So Biffle runs second. Montoya's in third. Lindsay, you're watching him, right?
Yeah, I am, Bill, and he's saying right now he wants a little bit more forward bite in this car, but it's interesting too because he's obviously been running up front all day long, and I talked to him just before this race. He told me the million-dollar question is going to be what happens when the sun comes out like this? How much is it going to change the track? What do you guys think?
Boy.
His car looks good right now. I mean, watching him go through the corners, I mean, he looks like he's got a good car, and he's looked like I said earlier, it looked that way all weekend.
Yeah, and this is a great team. Think about how bad they looked last week to how good they look this week.
Yeah.
In 7 days, these guys have turned the program around to being, and also ran there, to being a factor right here.
Ralph, I know you got your hands full. What's the latest on Earnhardt Jr.?
Well, it's just kind of interesting. He was talking about the safer barrier over in turn 2, and Wally and Kyle, you guys have put in a lot of laps here. He was talking about how before the safer barrier was there, when you could get all the way up around the edge of the racetrack over there, the track would change as you came off of turn 2 and could actually use that to your advantage. And now with that safer barrier sticking out, what is that, about 1.5 feet, almost 2 feet, it has taken that line away.
And that's at a lot of racetracks. And probably all the racetracks that they put the safer barrier.
Yeah, almost everywhere where they put the safer barrier, it comes out, and it's hard to blend it back in without taking the racetrack away. But let me tell you something. I'll give you that racetrack every day of the week to have that safer barrier. And Junior will too. All he's saying is, it was a place I used to run, and now I can't run there.
Carl Edwards has gained 20 positions since the start of the race. Marty, what's the latest?
And since this run, Bill, he's gained several positions as well. Keep an eye on this 99 car. Listen to the changes on the last stop. Down on the track bar, half-pound out of the right rear tire, and 1 round of wedge in the left rear, all to fix a very loose race car. Carl said at the beginning of this run, I can tell already, guys, much better. Extremely happy. He's one of those guys moving towards the front. Off turn 2, here was his quote. It's perfect. Don't touch anything there.
Love it when the driver says perfect. When that man gets to the line, we'll be halfway here at Michigan, and then we're going to go through pit stops, see if they come under green or if the caution comes out. You're watching the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Michigan on TNT. Moments that changed the game, brought to you by Viagra. Martinsville Speedway on a scorching day in 1998. Ricky Rudd overcomes high temperatures and a faulty cooling system, suffering burns over parts of his body to win the race. He was the last owner-driver to win a Sprint Cup race until Tony Stewart won last week at Pocono. They ran out of ice bags that day, and they took Linda Rudd's makeup kit and put ice in that, dumped it out and put ice in that, as I recall, and fed it to Ricky through the window.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I want you, if you see that footage of a guy like that, that guy drove all day long and was that exhausted at the end of the day to do that. You don't see that much anymore because of the technology and the cool suits and the water systems that they have and the things, the hydration systems they have are so much better.
Here's a story that's been developing. It's driver Denny Hamlin and it's reporter Marty Snyder.
Yeah, guys, Denny Hamlin was extremely loose on the run before this one. Wanted to run the high line. He couldn't get up there, so Mike Ford decided to make some sweeping changes, added a spring rubber to the left rear spring, a pound of air to the left rear tire, and that has made this 11 car come to life. Mike told me this morning, I'm tired of winning practice. I want to see something in the race. Expect us to be very aggressive with our changes. Second stop of the day. That's what they did, and it really helped out this 11 car.
And that's interesting because I just had somebody Twitter me on why after a green stop do people that are already loose continue to get looser. And the answer is under a green stop you can't make major changes like that. You heard all the things that Mike Ford, but as you see the car coming off the corner, obviously they don't have it perfect yet. But
you think?
But at the same time, you just heard him talk about all the changes they made to that 11 car. They can do that under caution. You do that under green, you're going to go a lap down.
That's 9th place. Check that. That's not the 9th place. That's better than that. Kurt Busch is 6th and Carl is 7th. Busch in that middle light Dodge and the Lifelock Ford for Carl Edwards.
This is the part I always like when the guys get to the corner and one goes high and one goes low and you think that guy's just going to drive by, you know what I mean? And it takes that outside. You see the two car comes off. He can't get as good a forward bite right now, but he gives him a little room.
Yeah, I think he probably gave him a little break there.
Here's a field summary brought to you by Burger King. Jimmy Johnson has led 98 laps. So a virtual lock to lead the most laps here this afternoon. 4 cars are out of the race. And right now there are 23 cars scored on the lead lap. It's our Burger King field summary. Now, just so you know, the leader of the most laps at Michigan has won 4 of the last 5. The last guy that didn't do it, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson. Wow. And this is what's happened to the one car. I have a couple people ask what's going on with the one car. He's gotten in a wall at some point in time, and NASCAR has black flagged him because the back of the car is flapping around, and you see him putting it on. Marty?
Yeah, Kyle, he's hit the wall, and this is actually the second stop. As you said, NASCAR black flagged him this time to fix the paneling behind the right rear tire. Martin, obviously a little frustrated. They had a very good car yesterday in practice. A little scrape for the wall here, though, losing a lot of time on pit road.
Yeah, it's already, what, 4 laps down.
There's Johnson going by. Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Jeff Gordon in the 24. Earnhardt is 10th. Gordon is 11th. And Earnhardt Jr. has gained 20 positions since the start of the race. Didn't have the good qualifying run. Started in the 30th spot. Earnhardt's car has been. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's another situation where Earnhardt could see that Jeff was a little bit quicker, so he cut him some slack, just like I think Kurt Busch did.
Larry, you were keeping a close eye on that 11 car, weren't you?
Yeah, I was real curious until Marty gave the report why they lost 8 positions on that last stop. But what they did when they pulled the left rear tire off, they took the spring rubber. It's about a half of a piece of black rubber. And all that tire changer did when he had the tire off, he just shoved it in the spring like that. It doesn't take that long, but when the competition is good as it is on pit road, that equates to losing 8 positions. But what that will do, Bill, it stiffens its left rear spring. That way, when Denny picks the throttle up off the corner, it helps keep wedge in the car where it's not so loose and he can stay in the throttle.
It's pretty toasty under there, too, isn't it, Larry?
Yes, it is. It's hot and people screaming and everything else is going on.
There's Denny Hamlin battling with Kurt Busch for a position. He takes it, and that's 7th. I can tell you that A.J. Allmendinger has gone to the garage with right side damage.
And we saw him get into the wall a couple of times early in the race before the groove was really worked in. He was up there trying to run it in and just knocked the wall. And a lot of times it doesn't do any damage, but you do it repeatedly. Eventually you knock that rear end out of line and it's over to the left. And then you want to talk about a bad driving race car.
1:11, 89 to go.
Somebody out there is asking, when's this thing going to be over?
Yeah,
you know
that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign.
Asking what lap it is.
Carl Edwards, Casey Kane. Boy, everybody's still chasing Jimmy Johnson. He has led 103 laps, and pit stops should be coming up when we come back. Green flag pit stops have just begun. Matt Yoakum.
that Biff felt like he was one adjustment away from having the race car that he needed. He said it was tight off turn 2, lacking a little bit off turn 4 as well. Air pressure change for the 16, Lindsay.
Thanks, Matt. Pablo Montoya hasn't been saying much. That's because his car's been really, really good all day, which is great news for this team who has struggled so much at this track. Montoya brought his car in, 4 tires and fuel, Ralph.
The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is good through 1 and 2. Snaps loose off of 4. Still a little too snug to make him happy. They're going to take a look at that right side on that side skirt and the exhaust as well, Marty. They're going to make an adjustment, put 4 tires of fuel on it.
Ralph, Kyle Busch extremely loose off the corners. They're going to go 2 rounds of wedge in the left rear, trying to get this car tight. He said, I just cannot get back to the gas like I would like, Matt.
Tony Stewart, his pit box is 71, is pitting right in front. Stewart says the car not bad. Jeff Gooch Patterson from Escondido, California, already made the wedge adjustment, gets the second can of fuel. Meanwhile, Mark Martin, he said he didn't want any adjustments on this set of pit stops because the car had gone to the neutral side. He wasn't too upset about the handling of the race car. He's away, Marty.
Matt, those changes we talked about for Denny Hamlin made the car better. He said it was still a little bit loose at the end of the run. A little bit of wedge out, trying to tighten it up. Lindsay?
Thanks, Matt. The 48 team led by Ken Purcell, the Jack Man. They're all working on the car hard, giving it 4 tires, fuel. Jimmy is gone and away. Marty.
You should have heard the conversation between Carl Edwards and crew chief Bob Osborne as Carl diagnosed what he thought was going on with the car. Almost 2 entire laps trying to explain exactly what was going on with the race car. He said it's good. We need a little bit more. Car still too loose on exit. They're going to make a wedge, also a track bar adjustment, trying to tighten it up just a little bit. They can't make sweeping changes. Obviously the car very fast, but they do know they need to get a little bit better. And a fresh bottle of water for Carl. Quick stop for the 99 bunch.
Can also tell you Matt Kenseth and Casey Kane were among the first on and off of pit road. Kenseth currently scored 12th. Casey Kane in the 4th position. It cycles around back to Jimmy Johnson as the race leader. Carl Edwards did lead a lap, so 5 bonus points for the 99 team. So it shakes out Johnson, Biffle, Montoya, Kane, and Stewart in the top 5. Then Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Edwards, Mark Martin in 9th, Jeff Gordon from 43rd to the top 10. 81 to go at Michigan. We're under caution for debris here at the Michigan International Speedway. Pit road is open.
Truex and
Wow.
Casey.
Some of the guys that just pitted a few laps ago. Casey Kane's back, Matt.
Bill's still a work in progress for Casey Kane. They were going back and forth whether to go 2 or 4 here. You can see they're making the chassis adjustment once again. They do go for 4. Kane's car still loose pretty much the last 2 runs.
They're trying to get that, what we talked about. They're trying to make these adjustments, and now's the time because they're running out of time to make adjustments.
Marty.
Bill, this was the driver's call. Kyle Busch said, how many cars behind us on the lead lap? The answer was 7. So he said, we're coming. 4 tires. I need help getting tighter. He asked the lap times compared to Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart. When he got that report back, he said, we're going to need help at the end of this run.
Kyle Busch heads back out on the track.
Yeah, my question, I got a question for Larry. Larry, you there?
I am.
All right, let me ask you a question, bud. Some of those guys didn't pit, all right? Did they not pit because we've had so many green flag laps and now they're playing the fuel mileage card for the last 60, 70, 80 laps of the race?
All right, here's what I'm going to tell you, Kyle, is the guys that stayed out, like Jimmy Johnson, like Biffle Montoya, there's no question they can make this race on one more stop. But I know exactly why the 9 car, Casey Kane and Kenny Francis pitted. Think about our 2 green flag pit cycles. They were the first car to hit pit road. They pitted 37 laps, and in 40 laps, they needed to be able to run 43 laps per run from where they pitted on 114. That caution, I think, was a blessing for the 9 car.
Because all that did, Larry, it caught him up with everybody else.
Exactly. I think everyone can make it on one more stop now. I'm going to put my calculator away.
I wouldn't put that thing away yet. We got 78 to go under caution at Michigan for debris in turn 3. Rudeman, the lucky dog. Getting ready to go green here at the Michigan International Speedway. Our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Goodyear. Now let's see. Rudeman, as we mentioned, was the lucky dog. The 44 of Allmendinger has come back out on the track. The top 9 drivers did not pit. Jimmy Johnson, driver leader's choice, starts on the outside row. No wave around. There'll be 75 to go when they take the green, which is right about now. I'll also tell you, Ryan Newman came back down pit road for an extended pit stop.
Yeah, they changed a little bit more than a spring rubber on that one.
They changed the right rear spring in that Army car, and they did it within about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. That's Army strong. It's 234 years, but this is amazing. Watch this. Let's see if we got video.
And that's how bad your car is when you come in and change a right rear spring. You're looking for big time help when you do something like that. Good pack of racing here.
Close quarters. Oh. At 99, come down across the hood of Elliott Sadler. Elliott Sadler's having a good run today. He's been in the top 10, 12, 15, just kind of biding his time there. We mentioned him through when we went through the field, but I'm telling you, he's having a really good run.
Casey Kane in the 9, Earnhardt the 88, Elliott Sadler in the 19.
Hey, what, Casey's rocketing through there right now.
Pedaling now, huh?
Yes, sir.
It always amazes me. I'm sorry. It always amazes me that these guys get to the corner and they're all looking for fresh air. That's part of why they're running the way they are. But they can run anywhere around the corner and they all fall back in line down the straightaway. Especially on new tires. New tires give you so much grip.
Yeah. But this, you're getting the time of the race. You can't lose track position on the leaders right now. If you've got a good car, you can't mess around in this traffic. You've got to try to keep that leader in sight if you're going to have a shot.
And Harvick's a good example. We saw Harvick there on the inside. And Harvick's been running 18th, 19th, somewhere in that range. But he knows he's got to get some track position right here. So if his car's not as good as it was and he starts losing again, he doesn't drop from 19th to 25th. He just drops from 9th or 10th back to 15th or 16th.
Denny Hamlin in the 11, Kurt Busch in the 2, and here comes Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon. Hamlin is 5th, so this is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Stewart falls in behind Busch.
And you see the 8, you see the 14 and the 2. Drafting does come into effect here.
Absolutely.
You see how those guys got to run. The 14 just stayed in line behind the 2. And look where Jeff is. Jeff 5 car lengths behind him now. He was up to the door on the 14 almost halfway through the corner.
On board with Carl Edwards in the Aflac Ford. Ford against Chevy right there.
And see, when you pull up beside a car, now see, at least you got somebody up in front that's in your lane. But normally when they're all lined up and you're down on the inside like Carl is, it's like hitting a brick wall of air. Even if you have a little bit of a run, your car just stops. The only way you can get a little bit of help is there's somebody running side by side in front of you helping breaking that air.
And you see on the front stretch here, Carl had to jump back up in line because he just couldn't get enough run up off that corner, and it frees you up a lot more down the front stretch because it's D-shaped. It's a longer straightaway.
Right, and look at the 9. The 9 would actually, yeah, he had a good run going into 1. Here we go.
Mark Martin in the 5. Juan Montoya in the 42.
Boy, Mark's just sneaking up there again.
Yeah, Mark has just been 15th. Well, what happened to Mark? Well, he's 13th. Well, what happened to Mark? Well, now he's 3rd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at him power up. He goes straight to the gas hard right there, man.
That's when your car's working, when you can get after the gas like that in the middle. Ooh, that's strong.
Mark's got 3 wins this season, 4 at this track. Looking
nice
for...
job, bud. Nice job. Go get him. It's the mark.
Looking for his 5th win at Michigan. And there's a little bit of a story here on Matt Kenseth, who runs in the 11th position. Lindsay, that's yours.
Yeah, Bill, you're right. And he just got on the radio a little bit ago and said, I'm feeling a vibration. But basically, they've been battling these loose conditions all day. And it was interesting because he pitted on lap 114, took 4 tires and fuel under green. And then the caution was called, and they brought brought him back in. Lap 122, 4 tires again, fuel, and that air pressure adjustment. So right now they're just trying to find a better line for him to run, also making sure that they take care of that loose condition as this track heats up.
So that's the story on Kenseth. Bounce around a little bit. Look for the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Currently scored in the 13th position. And Ralph, you're on that.
You know, Lance McGrew told me today it's a slow process to get this team to a position where they're going to be capable of winning and challenging for the championship. But every time they make a step, Bill, they get a little bit better, they feel a little bit better, and that good feeling is what they're hearing from Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the radio today.
You know, his car's been fairly consistent.
You may really complain a whole lot about this thing, and you've been working on it. It's supposed to be. I hear you. I'm just scared you're going to mess it up, but you've done good. I love the amount of confidence you have in it over here. I wouldn't say that you have anything to do with it. I mean, you know, just the history you have. History's just that, bud, history. It's been fun today racing with some people, new people. Just starting to get to race with the people we need to be racing with.
That's what they're doing right now, Bill. Working their way up through the field. They'll be up into the top 10 right now, running in 14, still dialing on that car, but they're confident and get them back up in there. In fact, Lance McGrew told me if we finish anywhere between 8th and 12th today, that's a good day. We're gaining on this thing.
And we missed the first part of that, but you could tell by the end of it, just his attitude seems better.
Yeah, but you know, we talked about it when they made the changes earlier. Sometimes just changing your uniform, your attitude gets better. You know what I mean? But these were major changes here, and I'm sorry to step on him. I couldn't hear him up here in the booth. I mean, it's too much time in a race car, I guess. I can't hear anything. But he has been a lot more consistent today than he was at Pocono last week. And as we stated earlier in the broadcast, this is Lance's first full week of working here, without any rain delays, without anything going, getting all the practices, getting everything. So this is their first full week together.
And this is the critical part I've seen with Junior. This is the part of the race where Junior usually slides backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of times he'll run good up the first half of the race, and then all of a sudden he just fades. So from here on out, from this point of the race to the end of the race, this is where the biggest part of his deal that he's had to work on, I think. And if they can run where they're running or even get better, then they've made a huge gain.
22 cars are scored on the lead lap.
The car has been too loose in and too loose off a great amount. Whatever we change, you need to undo it, get smart on it. Just looking at it, figure out, all right, here's when it started. He started talking about it, undo whatever that is.
Okay, now I'm going to expand on what Wally said. This is the point where they lose their grip, where they lose where they're at. Now he's saying you need to undo something. This is going to be the call that Lance makes. Do they undo it, or do they just say, gut it out, you're running 12th or 13th? If they undo it and he drops the 17th or 20th, like he has in the past, that's a problem. And that's a call that's coming from the driver's seat, not from the pit box.
Do they tell him they undid it and not undo it?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's been done all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Well, they may only have one more pit stop to do it. We'll see how it all plays out. Jimmie Johnson has led 126 of 136 laps, including this one at Michigan. TNT Sports at Michigan International Speedway, Brooklyn, Michigan, on a Sunsplash Sunday afternoon. And Jimmie Johnson just out for a Sunday drive. He has led 131 laps. He leads Greg Biffle by 1.6 seconds. Coke Zero, the only soft drink with real Coke taste and 0 calories, is giving fans a real taste of NASCAR. 163 miles per hour in a real race car with a real NASCAR driver. Visit mycokerewards.com/400 to enter the Coke Zero Real Taste of NASCAR sweepstakes for a chance to win the ride of your life with a member of the Coca-Cola racing family. Then be sure to watch the Coke Zero 400 live on TNT July 4th to see if you've won. That'd be an unscheduled stop for Matt Kenseth. Okay, we'll get to Kenseth to find out what happened there. Let's go through the field, starting with the race leader. Here's Lindsay.
Bill, Jimmie Johnson being pretty quiet on the radio. He did say, though, that the car's a little bit funky in the center of turn 3. He said a little bit free off turn 2, but nothing too significant overall. Very pleased with his machine, Matt.
Greg Biffle's been on a roll in the championship standings over the past 2 races. He's gained 3 spots. Started Michigan in the 7th position. His biggest issue much of the race, just trying to find grip, and that's his latest complaint to Greg early. When the car just needs more grip, on exit. Mark Martin, one of 4 drivers to go to victory lane after leaving Roush Racing. He has climbed up to 3rd. Mark's only real issue of late, the last run his car was neutral, but he's had some kind of electrical issue over about the last 40 laps. He's been going back and forth between battery A and battery B. Marty?
Denny, this morning, Denny Hamlin, or Matt, I should say, Denny Hamlin told me this morning that they took a different approach to practice this weekend. He said somehow we've lost being good at the end of a long run. He said that used to be our strength. All of a sudden now it's a weakness for it, and that has worked this weekend for this 11 car. They've gotten much better. The car right now for Denny, very good, one of the fastest on the track, and he said, I had to work really hard to get around that 42 car, Lindsay.
I believe he did, Marty, and I'll tell you what, Juan Pablo Montoya right now isn't too happy with this car. He feels like the crew adjusted it a little bit too much on that last pit stop. That was lap 115. He said right now the car feels as though it is plowing. Montoya overall, though, just pleased right now to be in the top 5, Marty.
Lindsay, it's amazing how razor sharp the edge of this car is. Last run for Jeff Gordon, so loose he could barely drive it. 2 rounds down on the track bar. Now he says it's great. Up in the 6th position. Very happy with the car. Remember, Gordon started at the back today. The second time in the last 3 races he started at the back, trying to turn this one into a win. Matt?
And Tony Stewart runs in the 7th position, the championship point leader, trying to increase his lead over Jeff Gordon. Stewart says his biggest issue at this juncture, basically, he wanted Darian Grubb to know it takes 2 to 4 laps before his car really comes in. That way, he can plan ahead to the next stop. Just how big of a swing they want to make adjustment-wise for the run to the finish. Marty?
Matt, remember how good Carl Edwards was on the last run? Well, he's about that much worse on this run. Not very happy with the car. He said it's a little bit tighter than it was last time, especially rolling in the center of the corner. He said we made it worse, whatever change we made. Inside the car, Carl made a change himself, adding 2 rounds of rear brake, trying to loosen that thing up just a little bit. Ralph?
Kurt Busch has been inside the top 10 all day today. He's been as high as 2nd. He's currently running back in 9th. The car is still loose in, tight in the center, and loose off. His comment over the radio, it's like going around in a 4-wheel drift. It's made things very difficult for Kurt Busch in car number 2.
Rounding out the top 10, Ralph, is Casey Kane in the 9. Remember, he pitted under that last caution, took on tires. His issue that they've been fighting, loose. But Kane said that the car, Larry Mack, at this point, he says the car is just terrible. They have lost the handle on this 9.
Yeah, Matt, they only may get one more opportunity. But we talked about 50-year-old Mark Martin having a big old time today. I think I know another one of our senior players having a lot of fun out there today. 53-year-old Bill Elliott, that 21 car, qualified in the 15th position. That's exactly where he's running. And you know what? When you look at this 21 car in Bill Elliott, a total of 18 wins combined here at Michigan. You know what, Kyle? They may not have a winning car, but they may have a top 15 car. And you know what? I know NASCAR only logs wins, top 5s and top 10s, but a top 15 is hard to come by today.
The top 15 is huge to come out. And I'm going to say something. These guys are running a limited schedule like the Wood brothers of old. When they used to run with Pearson and with Cale back in the 60s and 70s, and they ran the limited schedule. And I tell you what, I think it's made them a better team. And I think Bill's made these guys a better team. And it's good to see that Motorcraft car with Bill Elliott driving it. Here's going to the outside of Junior, so that's pretty cool right there.
21 cars are scored on the lead lap. The first car off the lead lap is the 17 of Matt Kenseth. An update on that, back to Lindsay.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, a frustrating afternoon for Matt Kenseth. He's felt loose all day long, but I told you about the vibration that he was feeling. The team brought him in because he had a loose left rear wheel, so they gave him 4 new tires. They tightened him up, sent him back out. But man, you talk about a guy that's frustrated, especially also about last week at Pocono. They did not finish where they wanted to either.
So he fell from 11th to 11th to 22nd now off the lead lap, and that puts Matt Kenseth just 41 points ahead of the 13th place position in the Sprint Cup point standings held by David Rudy. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader, 51 to go, closing in on pit stops, a zippy race here in Michigan. Road. Guess we'll find out. Easily. We're under caution at the Michigan International Speedway, a 1-car incident involving David Stremme. Third caution of the race. There you can see the entrance to pit road. And watch the Middle of your screen, the 12 car.
That thing just busted loose, and he was just hanging on for the ride at this point.
Told the team the car had been loose up until then.
I think slid a quarter mile before he hit anything. I mean, think about how far that is. Here he is coming off turn 4, down across the apron, on the pit road.
Blew the right front.
Here's the big thing. The lucky dog, the 17 of Matt Kenseth. He will get to come around and be the 22nd car on the lead lap because of the location of that car and the safety vehicles. Pit road is closed. So we'll step out for break, come back for pit stops, and this is really going to tighten the old fuel window here at Michigan. Leads them down pit road. He's in that very first stall. Here you see Greg Biffle in the 16 and the 2 of Kurt Busch. And Lindsay?
Well, Jimmy Johnson came in. I told you before, he said he had been a little bit free up turn 2. They gave him 4 tires, gave him a chassis adjustment and fuel, Matt Yoakum.
Lindsay, a track bar adjustment for Biffle, still a tick on the free side. His situation, much like Mark Martin, who was in 3rd. Both are about 3 laps short on fuel. Ralph?
Still working with air pressure adjustments for Kurt Busch. They put 4 tires and fuel in the car. His biggest thing now, too, is that he feels the front is coming up too easily on the gas. They say, Marty, that's more of a geometry issue at the front of the car. Won't be able to work on that till they get back to the shop, and they will not be able to go the distance on this much fuel, Marty.
Denny Hamlin asked Mike Ford to free him up just a little bit. A quarter round of wedge in the right rear. That's all. Such a small change for these guys, and they gained them 2 spots here on pit road up to the 2nd position. They are about 5 to 6 laps short. And before he even left pit road, Mike Ford was saying, save as much fuel as you can, Bill.
Thanks, Marty. And there is the race off pit road. We wanted you to watch the 48 and the 5 come down side by side, but Biffle beat them all out. And as you saw, followed by Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, Biffle's pit stop was about 1.5 seconds faster than Jimmy Johnson's, and that's all it took for him to get that spot.
Scott Speed and A.J. Allmendinger has returned to the track. Larry?
All right, Bill, we know things change. These guys make a little more power, but it's the same gear ratio as a year ago. Last year, Dale Earnhardt Jr. went 55 laps. Now, that included 10 laps of caution. So if you do the numbers, that's equal to about 50 green flag laps. I'll guarantee you there are guys out there, especially I think the Chevrolet camp, that can make it from here.
Larry?
I didn't put my calculator up. I was just kidding.
Okay. You know what note I had in my hand?
The same one.
You bet.
Look at this, Larry.
Tap out our stats, people, huh?
Look at this, Larry.
Hey,
Larry.
what did we talk about in the countdown?
There it is. There it is, baby. There it is.
The switch off.
And you heard him pop the clutch and fire it. Listen to him. Fire it back up. Now it's just quiet. That's the way it sounds right before you hit something also, just so y'all know that.
Yeah, it's an ugly sound.
Yeah. He pops his ignition back up. He's riding the clutch, pops the clutch, fires it up. He's just tooling around here. He's down here in turn 3, down here in turn 4 on the racetrack right now, getting a head of steam, cuts it off. Now he's coasting. Every little bit he's doing here will pay off. They hope if they don't go any caution. So he's going to do this he's going to do this until it comes time to go green. Okay, it's not Earth Day, so he just threw a bottle out. That's okay. All right, sorry about that. But this is what Larry talked about in pre-race. This is what we've talked about. You know, and everybody thought you can't do this under green. We can talk about this. You can't do this under green, but where he's at right now, he's out front. He's the perfect guy.
All right, buddy, we're getting closer and closer by the foot here. Saving all you can. Saving all you can.
Hey, Larry, you know, does this sometimes create other problems? I mean, you're doing this, say you do this 10 or 12 times a lap. It's not exactly good on the trannies.
There's a lot of things it's not good on, but you know what, Wally? Running out of gas is not good either. I like the numbers on his A-post bar. We always talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. not being able to find his pits. If you look at those numbers there on Greg Biffle's little pad in there, that tells him that the 2 cars before his pit is Mark Martin and the 37 car. The 2 cars after his pits, it was Joe Nemechek and Scott Speed. I like that right there.
Getting ready to go back to green here. Jimmy Johnson has led 142 laps. He's currently scored in the 3rd position. The most laps led by a driver who failed to win at Michigan, 141 laps. That was by Mark Martin in June of 1993. Ricky Rudd won that race driving for Rick Hendrick in car number 5. Fans, Off Track with Tony Stewart, presented by Armor All, is an exclusive video series that puts you behind the scenes with racing superstar Tony Stewart. To watch now, go to NASCAR.com/ArmorAll. Biffle and Hamlin on the front row. And Biffle taking the outside line. Then it's Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Montoya, Stewart, Kane, Kurt Busch, and McMurray. There were 6 wave-around cars. They restart at the rear of the field. They must take the green on the track. Here's the double file restart, shootout style. 45 to go.
Hamlin got a terrible start right there. You saw him just spin the tires and then try to block as much as he could to the inside.
Biffle, then Mark Martin. Then Jimmy Johnson. Man, I love that restart.
Well, Kyle Busch is working that high line, and he is passing cars right now.
I think the double file restart is exciting because we've talked about it before. You got to get as much as you can on new tires as soon as the green flag drops. And the thing is, you know, these are the guys you're racing with, so you're getting everything you can. And, oh, man, Kyle was sideways coming out of 2 right there. That caught my breath.
Well, it's just that, you know, you don't have to waste your time for 3 or 4 laps trying to clear those cars down on the bottom that are lapping more down. And, you know, like you said, you're racing guys now. As soon as they drop the green flag, you're racing the guys that you've been racing all day for position.
I heard a driver say the other day, and it was a good comment. He said, you know, I used to like the lap cars on the inside because once I cleared them, I knew I had a little bit of breathing room for a few laps. He said, but I understand from the fans' perspective that they think the double file restart and us hammering it down in the corner after this is important. And he understood it, but he gave his reason for liking it.
He must have been one of those guys who was normally in the top 3.
Obviously,
yes.
Yeah, in the top 2 at some places.
Okay.
Just a reminder, you must stay in line until you cross the start-finish line on these double file restarts. NASCAR has requested that the 48 car remember to stay in line until you cross the start-finish line.
Well, that's exciting. I don't think I was ever requested or reminded to do anything. I was just told to do stuff.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, obviously.
Matt on Casey Kane.
Bill, Casey Kane restarted in 8th position. He's made his way up to 7th. He's got that new Dodge engine, a little thirstier as far as fuel mileage goes. They've got a game plan to try to get them to the finish.
Want to just get going here and it'll spread out. Maybe we can save, or I'm not real sure what to do. Yeah, hopefully we can get going. It'll spread out, and then what we'll do is like about 3/4 down the straightaway, you'll just kick it in neutral and coast into the corner, you know, and then kick it back in gear when you get ready to go off the corner. That'll save a good bit of fuel.
It's a little bit about saving fuel. 1 year ago in this event, he finished 2nd.
But Larry McReynolds, you know that if there's a car out there that's going to have a tough time saving fuel, it is that 9 car. Why?
Well, Bill, we were in the garage area this morning, and you and I talked just a little bit. The new Dodge engine, the R6 engine, like the Penske cars that have been running all year long, they don't get quite as good a fuel mileage as the old Dodge engine package. And for only the 2nd time in 2009, Kenny Francis, Casey Kane, that 9 car, they have the new R6 Dodge engine in. So they've not got to the fuel mileage like the old Dodge engine just yet.
Thank you, sir. Looking for the 11 car of Denny Hamlin right here. Here's our Toyota driver update. And he runs in the 4th spot. It's the highest running Toyota. So our Toyota driver update. Right behind him, a couple of Chevrolets, Jeff Gordon and Juan Montoya.
He wanted to slide up in front of Montoya. He was really wanted to.
It was like, and then Juan kind of hangs a left at him like, don't think that. That's my lane.
I'm not giving this to you.
Ralph, you watching the 24? Marty,
that'd be me, Weber. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Can I chat now? Well, Jeff's currently in 6th. He said the car is just so loose, and it's really been loose all day long. Took a big swing at it a couple stops ago. Another big swing this last time with a major wedge and air pressure adjustment. He said, you know what, we're fast, but it's hard to hang on to, especially early in this run. Just does not want to turn for me in the corner.
Thank you, Marty.
You know, we saw Jeff do something on that last lap that was a little, he comes through 3 and 4 and he gets a good run on Montoya, and he ran the bottom through 3 and 4 the lap before, and then he tried to go the high side of Montoya. Now he's gone in the middle and slid back up in front of Montoya to take a little air off his nose and take that groove away.
I don't think that 42's given up yet.
And here comes the 9 by both of them while they're playing with each other.
But he's saving fuel.
Yeah, somebody is.
I think not. Okay. Everybody basically at the edge of their fuel window. Give credit to the 16 crew. They got Greg Biffle off pit road first. He is the race leader. Biffle has only led 10 laps, but he's leading with 36 to go. 33 laps to go here at Michigan. Greg Biffle is the leader by just a second and a half over Mark Martin. Find the largest assortment of NASCAR merchandise with over 100 drivers and 15,000 items available. Shop at NASCAR.com/superstore. And if you've been following Race Buddy, you know you can ask the booth a question. The truck says they have one for us. There it is. With teams worried about tire wear, why do the drivers spin them out
of the pit box?
Right.
I love
Why do you spin
your
time?
question. Well, because you sit there, be careful with your tires, and you see guys lighting them up coming out of the pit. I don't think you take any rubber off a tire when it's cold and you leave pit lane. If they were hot and you spun the tires, then you're going to be taking off a lot of rubber. But when they're cold, they're hard, and you can light them up, and nothing really comes off them.
That's a good answer. I was just going to say because they can, and it's ungodly cool to spin.
Well,
the
yeah,
tires
it's cool, but you're not supposed to say, I just took a quarter of my tire off of that cool burnout.
Yeah, no, and you're right. When they're hot, it's totally different when these things are up to 230 or 40 degrees and an operating temperature compared to how hard they are and what they are when you leave pit road. Sorry, I was being a smart aleck. Oh, wait a minute, that's me. Oh, wait a minute.
That was pretty interesting. You saw the 2 car really take off high, and actually Montoya, the 42 car, he was down underneath the white line looking for grip down there on the apron.
Yeah, and one thing you can do when you drop down at this point in time in the race, this racetrack has had rubber put down on it for 170 laps. Below that white line, there is no rubber. That's fresh racetrack. Now, the problem is your car has to be comfortable enough and tight enough so that you don't knock all the wedge out of the car, so it doesn't unload the car and it gets real loose. But if you can drop it down there, Mark Martin used to be notorious for running below that line.
And it's really like a cheese grater. You get to a point where,
he's all the way down there. That's 4 tires. That's 4 tires on the flat.
But you look at a cheese grater and you hit it with cheese, it fills up all those cracks in that grip, and then it becomes slippery. And now that's what's happened to this racetrack. This racetrack is all filled up with that rubber, and it's slick. Now they're going down on that apron where it's like a fresh cheese grater, and they've got that grip. You see that a lot of racetracks.
There's Jimmy Johnson. He runs in the 3rd position. An update from Lindsay.
Bill, I just asked Chad Knaus if he could make it the rest of the way on fuel. He held up his fingers and said, I don't know, we'll see. All I can say is this morning he told me that his fuel window was about 43-ish. If that's the case, it puts them right there. Here's some in-car communication earlier from Jimmy.
Dude, great work, man. Do everything you can. I know you are, but do everything you can to get around that 5. The 16 cannot make it on fuel. They're going to have to slow down their pace here the next few laps. It's going to be between you and the 5.
Jimmy Johnson right now saying if this car feels good, all is quiet because their focus now is getting around that 5 car, Bill.
Thanks, and we apologize. We couldn't. Maybe you heard it at home. We couldn't hear it up here. Biffle by a second and a half.
I got to say, now we're at that stage. This is the Larry McReynolds stage of the race, okay? Where all of our pit reporters from TNT are down there asking questions and not getting told the truth, okay? Last week, how far can you go? Oh, I can only go 38 laps, and they go 75 laps, it seems like. You know what I mean?
All right.
So it's the same thing. This is, you know, you guys sitting at home know just as much about this as what we're knowing. What we're being told is not always the truth. We're just relaying it.
But you do know they're saving fuel. If they're shutting
Yes,
the engine off under the yellow, you know that it's going to be close.
Oh, it's going to be close.
And you wonder if Biffle is faster than that or is in a conservation mode right now.
I could probably already tell you that Biffle has never been in conservation mode in his life. Okay, he's just slamming, man.
That's how he got the job, driving for Jack Roush. It's a good story. Might get to tell it to you later. Biffle leads in Michigan, just 26 to go. The race leader, there's a new second-place car, Jimmy Johnson. He's 1.7 seconds back of Biffle. There's Mark Martin in third, and we pull out to show you Biffle. And we can tell you, it appears that these guys might be slowing down just a little bit. They could be in some type of fuel-saving mode. Let's check out a fresh take brought to you by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh, down to Larry.
Bill, these are the averages we looked at the top of the show. You see, on the average, the last 8 races, first caution lap 27. Crossed that one out. Our first caution was not until lap 72. Longest green run, we've had 2 of those long green runs, and one of them was exactly 72 laps. This is the one we're going to keep an eye on, though. The last caution, normally lap 181. In fact, when you look at the 5 out of the last 7 races, we've had a caution in the last 10 laps, and we still have 22 cars on the lead lap right now.
Thank you, Larry. 21 laps to go.
48's loose.
48's loose?
Yeah.
Loose is fast, right?
I don't know, but
I don't know, but
it depends how sideways you're going to go off the corner.
It's more aerodynamic when you're running in a straight line. So when you run sideways, you're wasting fuel.
Okay, let's do a top 5 through the field. Greg Biffle got the lead coming off of pit road.
Bill, his crew chief Greg Irwin was working the calculator much like Larry Mack used to in the old days, and under that caution, they felt like they were 3 laps short. They told Biffle to run hard as he could until lap 175, then start going into fuel conservation mode, Lindsay.
Matt, a lot of communication going on down here in the pit of Jimmy Johnson. Chad Knaus just told Jimmy, push it hard for 7 more laps. That's their game plan right now. They felt as though they were very, very close. So right now, he's going to see what he's got, Matt.
And Alan Gibson thinks they may be a little short, but they're still working the numbers. They told Mark to start to save fuel. They think they may be close enough to roll the dice and maybe go for it. Marty.
Matt, when Denny Hamlin left pit road, he was about 5 laps short on fuel. And usually when you go out in these strategies, we've heard you guys talk about it, you run hard, then you slow down at the end of the run. Mike Ford and Denny Hamlin are doing the opposite. They slow down at the beginning of the run. They're going to go hard at the end of the run. That could be very interesting. Denny saying he's doing all he can to stay competitive. Jeff Gordon, however, from Steve Letarte says, we're good to go to the end. Run as hard as you want this entire run. This is going to be good, Bill.
Going to be fun to watch.
The thing is, you know, you got to think with 18 to go, if you're sitting there, if you're Martin or Jimmy Johnson or any of those guys, you have to catch the 16 first and hoping that he'll run out of gas. I mean, if you're going to win, you've got to be there. You've got to be out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you got to be there. It's just like last week. If we go back to the Pocono race last week, Jimmy Johnson said, I went off into turn 1 and I thought Carl ran out of gas. So I powered by him. You know what I mean? Next thing he knows, Carl powers back by him, and then Jimmy has to run hard, and Jimmy runs out of gas, and Carl doesn't. So you got to be close enough to take advantage and push that guy and make that guy in front of you run out of gas.
Yeah, if you're going to be 3 or 4 seconds back behind Biffle and hope he runs out of gas, that ain't going to. You know, that ain't going to work. You've got to be fast enough to be right there.
Yeah, that's the proverbial hope and a promise.
Yeah.
Greg Biffle's fastest lap was on lap 79. He ran a 39.24 seconds. That's about 2.5 seconds faster than he's running right now. Inside of 17 to go here at Michigan. It's Biffle, Johnson, Martin, Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards runs in the 6th spot. Who has enough fuel? Greg Biffle is the race leader, but Jimmy Johnson is coming. Fans, let's check in on the rankings for today's fastest pit crews at Michigan. There you see them. Greg Biffle got the lead with the help of his pit crew. He won the race off of pit road. Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon.
Okay, now here's the hard part. Yep, got to save fuel.
Not
but
anymore.
I got to stay out front too. Well, what do you know, he's saving. 16 isn't running 100% right now. I guarantee you that.
And the 48's running pretty dang 100% because he's sideways and backwards off every corner. He's driving right now, and he's picked up about a half second, maybe a little bit more than that over the last 3 or 4 laps. So I mean, you know, and these guys are equal right now. Equal tires, equal fuel, equal everything.
Jimmie Johnson has led 142 laps in this race. Biffle has led 35. Johnson dominated
But
the first 3 quarters of this race.
You see Johnson come up out of the corner there. That thing slaps back
and forth.
I mean,
He's been like that for the last 10 laps. He's been hitting the wall almost.
He's trying to get there to catch up. And whether he's trying to get there to get around him at this point in time with this many laps, or to get there and just smell the draft and save some fuel for him. You know, as fast as he's caught him over the last 3 or 4 laps, it's almost like if I can ride behind him for 4 or 5 laps.
10 to go.
10 to go.
Still 6 back.
What I would be afraid of on that car, I would want to get in front of him because I don't want to race it. If he's in fuel conservation, I want to get by him and I want to have a little bit of a cushion, because if Biffle drops the hammer again because he's got enough fuel, then you got to race him.
Yeah, then you got to race him. That's true. Once you get him down, you want to get him down.
Keep him down.
You want to keep him down.
Let's go.
Matt, he's getting a lot of encouragement now.
Bill, 10 laps to go. Fuel conservation on everyone's mind. Moments ago, this was a conversation between Irwin and Biffle.
Confirm, Biffle. No savings. No savings. 2 laps short. 2 laps short. No savings. Tell me to run it. 25%. 25%. Needed 2 laps of gas from the beginning of the run. 2 laps.
Tell him exactly how much that he needs to try to save. And Bill, it takes me back to a Jimmy Buffett song when you talk about math.
Yeah, math stinks is the one version of it.
A 48 may not have a right rear left by the time he gets to 16.
Here's one, 10 to go. Biffle has never been passed for the win when he is leading with 10 laps to go. He leads now. Jimmie Johnson right there. The question is, do they have enough fuel to reach the finish? Has Biffle been able to save enough?
And I think even listening to that conversation, you got to say he feels like he does, because what they said was we needed to save 2 laps, 25%, and then he said from the very beginning of the run. So maybe they felt like at this point in time, with 10 or 15 laps to go, when we heard that conversation, that they had saved enough fuel to go all out right now.
On board with Biffle, looking back at Jimmie Johnson. 8 to go. Mark Martin runs in the 3rd spot, then Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon. Edwards, Kurt Busch, Montoya, Stewart, Vickers, the top 10. 22 cars run on the lead lap. Johnson right there.
I think Jimmy wants by. It's just, I'm not sure. I just think his car might be a little bit too loose to get past him. What are they saying, Lindsay?
All I'm hearing down here is Chad saying, go get him, man, go get him. They really believe that they can make it all the way on fuel, and they feel like Jimmy's just a step behind. But once he gets past Biffle, if he can, this race could be his, Bill.
Taking a look down on the bottom, but he's so loose right there. Look at that car get loose. And he makes it even worse when you've got a car on your outside. And that's what I just said a lap ago. I think Jimmy's trying to get by. I just don't think he's got the car. I think the car's too loose for him.
Biffle's waving to him?
That wasn't a wave. That was a what are you doing hand.
Yeah, Biffle's waving to him saying, hey, you want to play that game? I'm going to play the game with you too. I'm going to run down on your door and pull you around. And that's what he did. He run down on his door to make him a little bit freer.
These are the leaders right here. This is on the left-hand box, Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin. Gordon is 4th, Hamlin is 5th. Mark Martin runs between those 2 packs in the 3rd spot.
Biffle's not going to give him that high lane. Greg knows that's not the. He may have him there. Yep, he's going to be clear from there.
Got some traffic in front of them. Johnson slides in and gets the lead.
Wow. That was just a power move right there. To be able to cut in the middle of the corner, down where he had not been running. He had not run there in the last 4 or 5 laps.
Here he comes
back.
Boy, you heard him breathe the throttle. Biffle trying to come back on Johnson.
Biffle's never going to go to the house quietly, okay?
and you know,
if
he's got if he's at the point where he's got to save fuel now, you're not going to be able to keep up with Jimmie Johnson and save fuel.
And you have to remember, no one is for sure able to reach the finish on their fuel load. You just don't know.
Biffle gets a run at him right here, you know what I mean? He gets down, he diamonds the corner kind of like the 48 car did on him. He's able to cut back across, get some fresh pavement, and come back up down the straightaway. But the 48 car is strong down the straightaway. Jimmy's willing to give up the outside line right now, where Biffle was never willing to give it up.
That 48 car looks like he's on a dirt track.
Yeah. But he has for the last 20 laps. As he got around Mark Martin and as he has run Biffle down, he's looked like he was sideways 2/3 of the lap.
Now it's time for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile Monster Moment. And guess what it is? It's this right now. We're looking at it with 4 to go. Stay tuned to all of the in-car audio, live radio broadcast, stats, and more with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, only from Sprint, only on the Now Network. Visit sprint.com/speed to find out more. 3 to go when they get to the line.
All right, the 16, he can't push it that hard either, but it's nice and smooth.
It's Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson's crew chief. Through turn 2. Mark Martin is about 1.5 seconds behind this. Matt on Mark.
Phil, he's sitting back there knowing that his car is fast. Mark told his crew just moments ago, he said, I feel like we can run up there and pass him. The problem is we need to finish. We need to have a solid run here. He's 13th in the points, 1 point out of 12. Right now, he's in fuel conservation mode, looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, actually, Matt, right now where he runs, he would move up to the 10th spot in points. So you're right, he does need a good finish today.
Less than 2 to go. And again, these cars, their drivers, oh, Biffle, really loose.
He's just driving it, man. He's just driving.
These guys on the edge of their fuel window. We saw what happened at Pocono. Guys running out, coming out of the final turn last week.
But now you got to turn off the fuel mode, anything.
Yeah.
Now everybody's 100% with 1 to go.
White flag is out. Jimmy Johnson's out of fuel. Jimmy Johnson is out of fuel. Biffle leads. White flag in the air. This is the last lap.
Biffle may be the new Silver Fox.
Well, hang on. We got a long way to go. You got Mark Martin sitting right there. Mark just moved to second.
Biffle's, he looks to be
He's
slow.
He's slowing. Is he slowing?
He's off the pace.
He's off the pace.
Here comes Mark Martin.
Oh, he's barreling.
Oh my God! Oh, look at Biffle.
He's shaking it. He just went to the switch.
Here comes Mark. Oh no!
Half a lap from the finish. Mark Martin to the lead.
Incredible.
Does he have enough fuel?
This is drama, dude. This is,
oh yeah, he can coast from here.
Out of
He's
4.
got it.
Biffle's going to coast.
He's got 4 wins here and another one today. Mark Martin takes the checkered flag of Michigan. That's why you love racing.
Man, that's exciting.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool right there.
Mark Martin had never won a race starting outside the top 25. Never until today. He started 32nd.
That was a great finish to a race that was just a race, okay, at best, but that's an incredible finish. Here's Mark Martin. You got one Hendricks car that runs out of gas, 2 Hendricks cars that finish what? First, second.
Yep. And took him to 8th. He was on the outside looking in.
That is
coming
huge,
into
man.
this deal.
That is huge. 9 cars out of gas. We talked about the Dodge engines and stuff.
Casey Kane coasted across the finish line.
21st. Kansas 17, or finished 20th. We didn't have as many this time run out of gas as did last week, but still, the key cars ran out of gas again this week, just like they did last week coming out of turn 4, Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson unofficially 22nd. Man, a wild finish here at Michigan, and we'll be back to talk to the drivers when we continue live on TNT. TNT is taking you to victory lane at the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. 3rd win of the year for Mark Martin. He's climbing out of the car, and Matt Yoakum is down there to celebrate.
And Bill, I don't know, we haven't seen Mark Martin this excited in so long. Mark, dramatic race for the fans. What was it like for you inside the cockpit trying to find the balance of saving fuel yet having enough speed?
Well, you know, this team deserves to be in the chase, and we were on the outside looking in with all the trouble we had. I went for the points, man. I thought those guys were running too hard for us to save gas. I couldn't do it both, save gas and run with them. And when Jimmy ran out, we got over here, I don't know if you're a listener or not, I said, heck, we're this close, I'm gonna run hard, you know, and I thought we could make it. And we ran out coming off of 4, but this is great for Kellogg's and CarQuest. Great gas mileage by this Chevrolet GM right down the road, and the Kellogg's folks are also just right down the road. And just want to thank the fans. I told Rick, just please don't fire me. I qualified 32nd Friday night, and I was like laying in the bed just worrying about it, you know. Heck, I love this stuff, man. I want to drive this car forever.
Unofficially, you've got the boss's number 5 machine up to 8th in the championship standings.
Hey, that's awesome, man. I love it. And I want to thank Sprint, too. All the fans. Thank you, guys.
Mark Martin back in Michigan's victory lane.
Second year in a row, a Hendrick car has gone to victory lane in a fuel mileage race here at Michigan. We've got all kinds of stuff coming your way from pit road, from the garage, maybe back from the motor coach lot. We'll find out. Years ago today, Mark Martin was in victory lane at Michigan, June 14th, 1998. He's back there today. Plenty of other stories from downstairs. Let's start with Ralph Shaheen.
Well, I'm down here with Greg Biffle. Was it the fact that the battle between you and Jimmy Johnson got too intense that it cost you to use too much fuel?
Oh yeah, definitely. The 48 came up there and was driving like we weren't on a fuel mileage run, and ran us down. And I messed with him there for a little bit. I picked up a half a second. I could run with him, but I have to. My hat's off to these guys who built this 3 in Ford Fusion. The engines run great, cars drive great. I encourage everybody to go drive one sometime. But, just made me use too much throttle and, burned up the gas. We would have made it, no problem. We had a great strategy, and the 5 wouldn't have beat us. And, if the 48 would have backed off and made it too, he wouldn't have beat us. But, unfortunately, he came up there and we cat and moused and used up our gas, and that's the way it is, the 5 won.
Lindsay?
Thanks, Ralph. I'm here with his teammate, Carl Edwards, who just told me that this race was a gift for you, right? Tell me a 4th place finish.
Yeah, our team, we struggled with the handling all day, and then there at the end, I couldn't believe it. Jimmy ran out, and I thought it's a forward in victory lane. Greg's gonna win this thing for 3M, and and then Greg ran out, and I was watching Mark, and I thought, maybe you never know what's gonna happen. There's a lot of drama there, but yeah, we had a little bit of trouble on pit road, didn't handle that well. Still came home 4th. It's a great points day for our Lifelock team, and. Man, I wish there was a Ford over there in victory lane. Fords get the best fuel mileage in the world, and we just we couldn't get it done today.
You got to have Jack smiling a little bit, though, right?
I don't think Jack's smiling right now. That's gonna be a tough night, but we'll go to Sonoma. We've had great runs the last few weeks, and just can't thank Aflac enough, and Subway and Ford and all the fans. And it's a fun racetrack to race on. I don't know what that looks like on TV, but from the driver's seat, that's heart pounding, those fuel mileage finishes.
I'd say it was heart-pounding for everybody, right, Bill?
Oh, we enjoyed it, that's for sure. Okay, unofficial race results. Let's see, where do you start? 38th career win for Mark Martin. That makes him 17th all-time sole possession.
Montoya gets a good finish, and I think that also moved him closer to that top 12.
14th, yep.
14th.
43 points out of the 12th spot.
And Clint Boyer ran good last week, didn't have much to show for it. Had a good run. We had him on this morning on the TNT. Race day.
Earnhardt Jr. And there you can see Jimmy Johnson down here in the 22nd position. He actually stopped on pit road and got fuel.
Yeah, he stopped on pit road, got fuel, went across the start-finish line on pit lane, which made him the last car on the lead lap. Now, if he hadn't done that, he would have still been in the same position. He would have just been the first car 1 lap down, and that's a scoring technicality, but those guys wanted to get every lap in to say they ran every lap.
He led 146 laps, Johnson did, but came home 22nd. You see the rest of the finish order there. It is the 26th 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon was 2nd, and let's go down and hear from him.
Jeff Gordon just climbing out of his car, getting something cool to drink. I'm sure you were in fuel mode. How tight was it for you?
Well, I think we saved a little too much, actually.
we're running a slower pace than those guys up front, being in traffic, as well as, I felt like I saved a pretty good amount under that caution. And the guys on this DuPont National Guard, you're the NCO, and hi to all those NCOs out there. These guys obviously packed it full of fuel because, I drove all the way around there. I ran pretty hard the whole time, and we pretty much knew that Mark would have pushed when we got to him. So I was happy to get my Denny and come home second. Hate to see those guys run out, but that's just the way some of these races turn out, and we played it the best we could. Congratulations to Mark Martin. I tell you, it's hard to beat him and Allen right now. Those guys are tough, they're smart, they're fast, and we're having a lot of fun out there, though.
I'll tell you what, this Hendrick engine department doing a pretty darn good job on fuel economy as well.
Well, Jimmy, I know it's a frustrating feeling. How helpless is that when the car just goes silent?
There's not much you can do. It's a shame to have such a strong race and come back with whatever finish it was. But
22nd.
22nd. Man, I wish you wouldn't have told me.
Sorry.
No. What do you do? We raced hard. We led the most laps. In a time when it's tough to pass guys on big tracks, we went up there and passed the 5 and passed the 16. So on the bright side of things, I'm real happy with the performance we had, and we really closed the gap on these guys here at Michigan. But unfortunately, we didn't win. So it's part of it. We'll take our lumps, go to the next one. But this Chevrolet was fast, and they called us a track for those other makes. But I think we showed that bow tie can get it done here today. And I have to thank Cobalt, Lowe's, and all their employee owners, and all the Hendrick Motorsports for their hard work.
I thought it was a cool move to go down pit road, and you did finish the race, though.
Oh, yes, I did. There were people running out of the way, but I did finish the race.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Jimmy,
Denny Hamlin gets a third-place finish here today. Denny, how good does this feel for you?
It's a relief to finally get a finish where we belong. We had a good car all day. Just proud of this whole FedEx Express team, and we were definitely a car that could contend for a top 2-3 spot all day, and it feels good to finally come out of here with the finish that we deserved.
What do you think about this finish in general and the way things played out there in the end?
Well, it was tough. It's tough as a driver to go out there and not run as hard as what you want to, but when these races just seem to come down to fuel mileage a lot, and we worked on it a little bit with our race team, and I think I worked on it as a driver and got better. But I was rolling the 5 in there at the end, and I felt like, man, maybe I'm running a little bit too hard. And so I let the 24 go, and it turns out the front two betted each other in running out of gas.
Denny Hamlin and the FedEx team get a much-needed third-place finish.
Some of the stars of the race from just a few moments ago here at Michigan. It's the second 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports at Michigan. In June of '93, Ricky Rudd finished first in the 5-car. Gordon was second in the 24, just like it was today, 5 and 24. Unofficial championship standings after 15 races. You saw the top 10 there, and look at this, Montoya, and you were talking about Juan Pablo.
Yeah, and here we're going to Sonoma next week. So Montoya's got a really nice chance of getting into that top 12 if he's got a good run this weekend at Sonoma.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. climbs a couple of spots, but he's 255 points now unofficially out of the top 12 positions. That was fun.
That was fun, but that's the problem with points this time of year. You can climb a couple of positions and still be a long way out.
Next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT heads to Sonoma, begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time with NASCAR Live, then the countdown to green. Head to NASCAR.com right now for NASCAR on TNT, post-race show interviews, analysis, more live now on NASCAR.com. For all the people around the track and in the truck, thanks for having us in for the race. See you in Sonoma.
Gentlemen, start, yo! Nobody's gonna take my car. I'm gonna race it to the ground. Nobody's gonna beat my car. I'm gonna break the speed of sound. Oh, it's a killing machine. It's got everything. Ride all time, all highway stop.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.